Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a hot minute since I've been on live, but got a couple things lined up today. How's everyone doing? Let some people filter in here before I really get down to any business. Might have a couple guests on today. We'll see about that. But earlier this week, I tried to do a couple videos analyzing a specific movie, but of course, Warner Brothers being the way they are, immediately flagged them as soon as the video went up and struck it down. Couldn't watch it worldwide at all. So a few people got to see it, but most people did not. So I'll probably go through that today. And I'm unfortunately not going to be able to play any audio from it, which was like the main theme. So that really sucks. But the past couple of weeks has been pretty interesting. Even the past couple of days has been full of news. So we'll go over a couple of those things here in just a minute. How's it going, Adrian? How are you? Dreshmayer, hail Odin. Let's get some of that in the chat. All right, here. I gotta pull up some audio files. If you haven't seen the movie, it's called Falling Down. It was made in 92, 93, so fairly old, but I think it really holds up to today. The story, I think, is really a modern parallel. But if you haven't seen the movie, I'll play a short clip so you can get a feel for the sort of the theme of the movie. So here you go.
Fucking faggots!
Yeah. That's one of the characters, Nick. He's a pretty funny character. But let's see. Where is... I'm waiting on this guy. He wanted to come on the show, so I'll see when he is available. Waiting for him to join the call here. But yeah, so Falling Down is a great movie. It's about this guy who kind of loses himself. He kind of goes insane, and he doesn't realize it. So we'll get to that. Sure, Mexican Republic, right? Yeah, the whole thing in Nicaragua. I haven't really been following it, but I saw it. I saw some news on it on Twitter. It's all of South America is a good argument for the Second Amendment or gun ownership culture as a whole. The whole situation down there is fucked. Ooh, Jesus. Yeah, so this next coming week, we've got, oh man, more talks on North Korea. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see exactly what conclusion they'll come to. Now, they've said that they have already taken down their nuclear program, that they've deconstructed some missiles, they've closed down a testing site, they're not going to do any more testing, and supposedly South Korea has confirmed that. So I don't know how truthful that is. I guess we'll see. Supposedly the meeting between North Korea and all the other powers is supposed to take place on, I believe, this coming Friday. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But I'm curious to see what happens. I don't think there's going to be any unification talks, although that would be amazing. I certainly want to see how China is posturing in this situation. I want to see what their plan is, because I haven't been able to get a good read on China throughout this whole situation, because Trump, like, he really throws a wrench into the whole geopolitical sphere, because I have no fucking clue what he's doing at any given time. Sometimes it seems like, oh, 4D chess and all that shit. I don't like to rely on that as an argument. But then at the same time, it seems like, okay, he did one thing, and then a week or two later, it came out that he was actually doing the other, and he was just gauging public opinion. So there's really no way for me to make a prediction. I don't know how Styx manages to do it. He's really good at making political predictions. Look at the Transgender Law Center YouTube channel. There are pro-HIV videos. What's up, Jolly? How you doing? Let me... Transgender Law Center. I've never heard of that. That sounds degenerate. Transgender Law Center. 1.4K subs. TLC. The first video is Black LGBTQIA plus migrant project coming home. Holy shit, the fucking memes write themselves, guys. Holy shit. Supreme Court. Man, why are there so many like minorities on this channel? Jesus, you would think that being gay is very prominent in minority communities. Can't be any truth to that. Oh my god, this is horrifying. Nobody look at this channel. It's fucking horrifying. Rainbow 17 Caravan. Trans and gay migrants. Wow. Could you give me the exact title? I'm scrolling through. Oh, here it is. Positively trans. What the fuck? I mean, I guess I'll play the audio here. I want to see what this is. Come on, fucking YouTube. This is horrifying. Why did you tell me about this? Okay, it's like a war zone. What the fuck is this?
Fleeing El Salvador's civil war, where 70 people lost their life, landed me in Washington, D.C. in 1986.
All right, yeah, I'll talk about that here in a minute.
Yet, dreaming that my life as an undocumented.
Oh, I don't want to watch this. This is horrifying. Maybe I'll do a video about this because this is fucking horrifying. I'll have to watch some more of the videos, but yeah, thanks for the recommendation. It scars me. All right, let's see. Poseidon. Hey, what's going on, Poseidon? Their agenda is to make us brown, Muslim, trans, and HIV positive. Yeah, I tweeted about this a couple of days ago. They basically want to turn the world into South America. A bunch of, brown-eyed, brainless midgets, consumers. There's a man called T. Dumsford who is going to have his dick cut off, I think, because of anti-white propaganda. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so a lot of people are asking when the Warski debate is going to happen. Okay, here's the thing, right? I don't mean to talk shit about Andy. I really don't, because I respect his platform. Is that he's open to lots of different ideas. All right, but here's the thing: we scheduled this debate like a month and a half ago, right? So back in like mid-March, maybe early March. In fact, I think it was the end of February when this debate first got brought up, and I reached out to a whole bunch of people, but the only people who responded was Warski. So I reached out, I emailed him, I got the other people on the other side of the debate to reach out to Chris Warski, and eventually we got it set up. So it was supposed to take place April 15th, which was last Sunday. And it took like 2 weeks to get this scheduled. I don't know why. This whole thing between Andy and JF happened, so I was kind of questioning, okay, is the debate really going to happen? Or is the show going to break up? That kind of thing. So it was kind of uncertain. And then, okay, so we're all good by the previous Friday, the 13th, 14th, or whatever. I get a message from Andy. The debate's on. We're going to do it. It's coming Sunday. I was ready. Sunday comes around. It's noon on Sunday. I'm kind of getting my presentation together, and I get a message from Andy, and it's like, hey, we're going to be a little bit late. Hey, man, no big deal. You do what you got to do. They're changing their show form up. That's fine. And then what time was it? It was like 5 or 6 my time, which is central US. And he says, hey, we're going to be a little bit later. It's going to be an hour after that. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm sitting here prepared. And then the time that the show is supposed to start rolls around, and now they're doing the first hour of the show is going to be just them talking about the Baked Alaska drama. Hey, fine, no big deal. Just send me the invite link when you're ready for me to come on. And then that hour passes, and I don't hear back from Andy. In fact, I still haven't heard back from him since that day, since that last message where he said he was going to be late. And so, oh, VTech, I'm not fighting with Andy. I don't have anything wrong with it. I'm just telling people why. I keep getting questions as to when the debate's going to happen or why it didn't. So I'm trying to explain to people why it didn't happen. I don't have anything. I'm not angry at him or anything. No, it's his show. He can do whatever the hell he wants. I'm just explaining why this is taking so long. But so they end up doing like 3 or 4 hours with this Baked Alaska drama, which is fine. And then they said that they were going to reschedule. So by the end of the show, they were like, "Yeah, okay, we're going to reschedule." So it's like, "All right, cool. Just let me know what's going to happen." And then here it is a week later, and I still haven't heard anything back. So I don't even know if it's going to happen. I mean, I took a vacation day off of work so I could do the debate, and I thought, it's fine. But my time is fairly limited, so I don't know when this debate is going to happen. So, yeah, for anyone out there who is wondering what the status of the debate is, it's up in the air right now. I haven't heard back from anyone who was going to participate or Andy himself, so I guess we're just going to kind of have to wait. I guess I'll shoot him a message next week and find out what happens. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I mean, I spent geez, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks preparing this. If the debate doesn't happen, I'm still going to do my presentation. In fact, I'll probably still stream with the guys who wanted to do the debate with me. That's fine. We can host it on my channel. I just figured if Andy wants more content, I'd love to go on there and talk with him anyway. So says it's a little screwed up. He didn't keep it. I wouldn't say he didn't keep his word. I just think he's got a lot on his plate. That's why I'm not angry at him, because it's his show. I don't really give a shit. But if that's the kind of content that he wants and that's what his audience wants to see, that drama shit, hey, more power to him. The only thing that I really had a problem with is that it's kind of hard to communicate with him, and it might just be because of the size of the show or audience or whatever, but it's like, come on, man. Like, we kind of had this scheduled. Like, you could at least give me an update. No normal people would find this trans channel, so I think Bravada Machina, you may be right. Yeah, this is a little weird. It's pretty unknown. 1.4K subs. Nordland brings up a good point. Talk about Brexit Party. Okay, so Brexit Party is taking an indefinite break from live streaming, which is a real shame. I did watch the last live stream that he did, and I mean, I guess I can kind of see why he was getting kind of a lot of shit from the audience. But I don't know what his personal life is like. I wish him the best, but it's like, it's only been a couple months and you've garnered a pretty large audience. You've spoken to, I mean, you've reached up and you've gotten David Duke on the show. You were talking about getting Richard Spencer on the show. I mean, we've had a whole bunch of great guests and a whole bunch of great live streams that happened. It just kind of sucks that you're taking a break from it, because I think the biggest mistake you can do on social media is to take a break, because there's a constant stream of interest, especially when it comes to the YouTube algorithm. There's a constant stream that you have to be aware of. Like, if you take a break, the algorithm is going to take your content out for another couple of weeks. So if you suddenly come back like a month or two later, you're not going to have the same viewership that you had previously. It's just an unfortunate side effect of having to take a break. Now, if he's watching, Oliver, if you're watching, man, what I would recommend is maybe do like scheduled streams. Maybe do like 2 or 3 a week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Maybe that would be better, because I know it's super hard to stream every single day, and organizing all this, it takes a lot of effort. William Mont says, will you do a video on identitarianism in the alt-right? What do you think of Identity Europa? I mean, I think they're a good organization. I see them more as, obviously, someone like myself and Identity Europa and someone like James Alsop, we differ politically. So I don't really see them as an enemy or anything like that. Some people in the alt-right like to see things like that as like controlled opposition or something like that. But I mean, they're still doing good work. They're still identitarians. We still agree on some base principles, and they're still garnering more attention and doing political activism. So I would say that they're a force for good, to be honest. Unity says he will come back and reinvent himself like previous times. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. I hope he comes back with the same kind of fervor. Nordland, could you I guess explain that, because I don't think I saw all that. Brexit was arguing in total bad faith and straw manning like a complete cunt. I'm sorry, I just didn't see it. What do you think about the Social Democrat candidate in Mexico? He's winning and being financed by them. If he fucks up, expect more Mexicans on the Southwest. Yeah, this is my big worry as well. People like him winning. Honestly, I think we need more, a couple more troops, a couple more tanks on the border. Just saying. Let's just go with that. She was saying about the whole British white thing. Yeah, I mean, see, sorry, get baked Alaska on the stream. No thanks, I'm good. I don't need any preachers here on the stream. I don't know if anyone's kept up with this baked Alaska drama. I refuse to talk about it too much. I mentioned it in one video and that was it. Brexit was saying, well, who killed all the whites during World War II? Other whites and shit like that. Yeah, I guess, yeah. That's a pretty shitty argument. Is Worski really worth the drama? Not really. Like I said, I'm not super pissed. I'm not super invested in it. I just thought it would be fun. Talk about Baked Alaska, you Jew. God damn it. Why do people want me to talk about Baked Alaska? I don't have much to say to him, except he's a fucking idiot. All right. All right, fine. I'll talk about Baked Alaska for just a minute. Okay. I never saw him as someone credible. First of all, I always saw him as someone who was an opportunist, basically riding the wave of hype, with this whole MAGA thing. This is this thing that happens with the MAGA tards, right? You have a whole bunch of people who are basically parasites who latched onto a movement because it was gaining traction and sought to make money off of it. That's how I see Baked Alaska. Because really, what is he bringing any ideas or anything to the movement? The only thing that he was really good at was hosting debates. That's the only reason I subscribed to him, was so I could see, like the Jay Dyer versus Richard Spencer debate. Great debate. I wish Baked had kept his fucking mouth shut more. That's the only thing he's good at. Patrick, well, they were fed up with Oliver's BS. Yeah, I'd like to talk to Patrick Little again. Maybe I'll reach out to him, because oh man. The other thing that me and Brexit argued about a lot was the whole veganism thing. Shut up, Croc. You're going to get banned. You're banning. Baked Alaska is a male version of Lauren Southern. Only difference is he is dumber. Here's the thing about Lauren Southern and sort of the alt-right. If they're doing good, like, political activism, I don't really care, so long as they're not really counter signaling against me or whatever the hell, it's like, all right. So when Lauren Southern went to South Africa, right, that was some real journalistic work. I can respect that. I may not respect her political opinions, or some of her other opinions on various topics, but at least she's doing real important work, like talking about the white genocide in Africa. I can respect that. Yeah, Tariq Nasheed versus Jared Taylor on Baked Alaska channel. That was fantastic. That's the kind of thing that I want to. Order of Nature. You can send me a DM on Discord, or you can ask a question in the chat. I read all the chat. So yeah, Patrick Little's a good guy. I'd like to have him on to talk about this whole veganism thing. So I'll probably reach out to him. I think the centrist leftists will continue to dominate in the coming years. Hold on, Croc. I got some chat messages. Baked has 2-digit IQ. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. So if you want to know my opinion on Baked Alaska, he's a fucking parasite. He doesn't really bring anything to the movement. I think he should just keep his mouth shut and keep hosting debates. No one cares about your fucking boring, uninteresting life. Vlogs are cancer. Unless you are like a multi-billionaire, flying around in private jets and going to parties, it's not entertainment. And even I wouldn't call that entertainment. But all he's doing is sitting around in his fucking living room with a bunch of degenerates taking in people's money. That's it. He's not bringing in any content that should be interesting, or that is interesting. Sorry. I'm glad I can catch some of this. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. That the guy that did that thing back in 2017. How's it going? Do you think the far right will continue to grow on YouTube and IRL, or do you think that the center leftists will continue to dominate in the coming years? It depends on a multitude of things. Hold on. One sec. Oh, sorry, I got a cough. I think there's going to be growth on both sides. There's going to be this division between the far left and the far right, because the far right obviously is generally more accepting of other people's positions generally, but the far left is not. And so what they're doing is they're polarizing the quote unquote left to an extreme. So I think there's going to be more Marxists coming out within the next couple of years. And so long as the far right doesn't disintegrate itself, it'll be fine. There's going to be growth on both sides. We're going to come into conflict with one another if this continues to grow. Now, if there's an economic collapse or a social collapse, who knows? People are going to split themselves up. There could be any number of civil wars. We could have a major political shift. I think the next great marker for political change is going to be 2020 with Trump's reelection. Some of the elections coming up in Europe, and then when the next generation fully comes into power and all the boomers die out. Those are the next three things that you need to be watching out for. Participating in IRL action, being cautious about what she says. Yeah, Avalon, yeah. So I should have wanted to. Yeah, Northern, I can't say I disagree with you there. Let's see. All the donations made during Alaska streams, like the moving unpacking one, the people are complaining about Lauren Southern getting money. Yeah, exactly. It's like he's got about 200 to 300 beta orbiters who are just giving him cash. And it's like, how pathetic is that? It's no different from the people who support like people like Lauren Southern or Laura Loomer, just throwing money at him. Baked Alaska is a cash-grabbing degenerate, basically living like the hedonist zombie he portrays to be opposed to. What's really showing about him is that he's hanging out with Ice Poseidon. That's who he wants to be. He wants to live the easy life and be an influencer and be famous and make tons of money like Ice Poseidon. That's all he wants to do. VTech, man, I'm telling you, I'm not ignoring the story. I just have to do a bit more investigation. I can't just talk off of this, right off the bat. I just found out about it. Jewish IQ. Yeah, everyone go read Vox Day's article about higher Jewish IQ. That's a really good one. The Donald is getting a hard on for red pill black people. So obnoxious. Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you're a CivNet cuck. They talk about identity politics and they parade around these minorities as if it's some great tool. Will you be having more conversations with Cultured Thug? Yes, I want to reach out to him again, but our schedules kind of conflict. So if I can get him on the stream, maybe in the next couple of weeks, I'd like to talk about political platform. But be on the lookout. I'm going to do a political platform video. Are you familiar with Brendan O'Connell, Joseph Davis, or Jeremy Rothkushel? They exposed something called Operation Talpiot and Israeli penetration. Huh, interesting. Oh, the x86 backdoor. Yeah, I've looked into it. I don't know that much. Thanks for the names, though. I'll go look that up. It's rare right now as opposed to right versus slightly less right. Well, the Boulder says, why do you think that left versus right debates are rare right now? Are they opposed to right versus slightly less right? Because leftists don't want to debate. If you look at someone like ContraPoints, he's not going to debate. Yes, it's he. They don't want to debate because they don't have any arguments. They can't stand up to scrutiny. That's the thing. So they don't want to have debates. But the people who are interested in exchanging ideas are always on the right or the center because they are actually open to discussing these things. Marxists are intellectually inferior to everybody else. That's just a fact. So they don't want to have these debates. So it ends up the only people who can have debates are people on the right or the outliers like Tariq Nasheed and Jared Taylor. Go to my community. He's going to. Yeah, I see the far right growing as well, even here where I live, where it's mostly non-whites. Generate fedora tipping edge. What do you think? Well, Charles Martres says Lauren Southern brings in degenerate fedora tipping edgelords who think that Islam is the only problem we face. I both agree and disagree. I've said this before on Brexit Party stream. I see the alt-right as a stepping stone. If you're open to their ideas, you're open to my ideas, right? And the whole alt-right thing, label, whatever. But if you're open to that, you're one stepping stone away from finding something like my channel or someone like shit, I don't even know. All the people on the alt-right, essentially. You're just one step away from finding them. 1 minute you're watching Thomas Sowell speeches, and the next minute you're watching a speech, a compilation of Hitler speeches. It's one stepping stone away. Who is Frame Game debating soon on Warski? I don't actually remember. I don't really follow it that much. Let's see. Cultured Thug is a Shut up, Jolly. I'm going to mute you from the chat. Don't be smirched. Cultured Thug is a great guy. Kill switch diplomacy. ContraPoints is very Aryan. Yeah, okay, sure. I'm removing that one just because it offends it offends me. That's too offensive. Yeah, watching Sean Last and Ryan Falk destroy those Marxists on Warski Live was amazing. Oh, please stop. I can only get so erect. Iron Fist says, thoughts on the Nordic resistance movement? I think you mean like Nordfront and those guys? They're great. I love all of these identitarian movements. VTech, I'll check out your link here in a minute. David Gene Steelowitz says, oy vey, are you aware of the theory that Germans escaped and made a base in Antarctica, prompting a naval task force to drive them out, called Operation High Jump? Yeah, New Schwabenland, or Schwabenland. Yeah, I'm aware. I wanted to do a video about it, but there's not a whole lot to talk about that hasn't already been done. Hey, Mimir, what are your opinions about the new party alternatives for Sweden? They have grown remarkably well, and the Swede Democrats have gone to AFs. Yeah, I think the political landscape in Scandinavia is really changing. It's growing. I did a video on the politics of Norway if you want to go check that out. But the tide is really shifting. I don't know how anyone can't see this. Even if it's just sort of center right, it's still a growth on the right. And like I said, that's one stepping stone towards sort of the further right. Speaking of which, do you think the decline in white population will lead to the growth of the racial? Yeah, absolutely. As more and more white people get pushed, like, holy shit, this whole Starbucks thing, I didn't want to talk about it too much, but if you go on the Starbucks Reddit and look at the people who have been certified as actual baristas, they're getting woke as fuck on the black question throughout this whole racist Starbucks thing. It's fucking hilarious. And this is what happens. These white elitist liberals, they get thrust into an environment which they're not familiar with, which is interacting with minorities. And now all of a sudden they become huge racists. That's just reality. And as more and more people get pushed towards this reality, you're going to see an explosion in white consciousness. That's why I say, just kind of let things happen. Keep talking about what we're talking about. Things will change as the world becomes more polarized. It's just an inevitability at this point. Are you in NYC? No. I'm in Texas. I've been to NYC once. It was a shithole. You guys should go sub to a new channel, Dadamus Sumidid. He brings a sharp mind to our moon. I think that Mimir will enjoy him. Yeah, go check him out. Let me save that comment real quick. I can't vouch for him yet, but I'll take your suggestion. Oh, is it Frame Game versus Halsey? Oh, wow. I can't wait to see that. What is the feature of the Hotep movement? It's funny. I find actually some things in common with the Hotep movement, because if you didn't know, the Hotep movement is very anti-Semitic. They're fucking hilarious. So I actually find things that I can talk about with them. The guy that did that thing back in 2017, weren't you supposed to appear on Warski Live? Yeah. Scroll back in the stream to about 10 to 20 minutes ago. I already talked about what's going on with the Warski debate, if you're curious about that. Moloch says, completely true. Oh, hey, Moloch, what's going on, man? I started with edgy atheism to this. It's all a few small steps, but they take time to make. Yeah, it takes time. If you want to wake up the masses and maintain real political power, you're going to have to let these stepping stones run their course. Just got a tan and God damn it, Jolly. Don't mind Jolly Crocodile. He's just trolling, guys. Come on. Germany should Gota Kentnis. Great name, by the way. Do you agree with the notion that NatSoc is a branch of fascism? NatSoc wants to have a state in order to... here's the thing, right? And I only briefly touched on this with Cultured Thug. This is where we kind of differ. Fascism and National Socialism are both right-wing socialist movements, but they are, I think, are mutually exclusive from one another. You could say that National Socialism is just German fascism if you want to, but fascism is inherently non-racial. But National Socialism is explicitly racial in basis, which is why if I had to pick one or the other, I would pick National Socialism, because I'm much more of a racialist and identitarian than I am just a straight-up socialist. Right-wing socialist, I should say. So there is a definite distinction between the two. Germanics will now invade your channel. Yes, please, more Germanics. Help me with my my German studying. Hoteps are reasonable, to be honest, Familand. Yeah, like some people like to give me shit for engaging with black nationalists or the Hoteps and shit, but like we're on the same wavelength in a lot of ways. So long as they're not anti-white, I have a lot of things in common with them, you know? So it's fine to talk with them. Hey, Mimir, what is your take on Eastern Europe? I'm from Hungary, and even here I can feel the escalation between left and right. The rhetoric is, yeah, it's escalating. Like I said, we're becoming more polarized as people take on ideological positions, because centrism is an inherently bourgeois, sort of comfortable boomer ideology. Far right and the far left are not. They're reactionary. They're reacting to the utter state of decay and decline that the West is in. So people are going to be shifting to either side, and they're going to come into conflict. It's the same, you know, every century we repeat the same fucking thing and no one seems to listen, which is why I focus so much on political theory. Ah, you have to understand it from the base. I think the Soviet Union was kind of a shield against liberalism. Yeah, it was both a horrible curse, but sort of semi-blessing, to be honest. Should have been made out of that Yusuf destroyed Crowder with his change mind. Oh man, Yusuf, holy shit, Yusuf is fucking base. I'd love to reach out to him too. I watched him on Nick Fuentes' stream. That was great. Nordland says, why is fascism de facto non-racialist? I would say it can be both. Well, it can be. It certainly can be, but the doctrines of fascism that most people have are non-racialist. Like, I've seen plenty of fascists who argue for imperialism. So this idea that you can have multiple ethnic groups within a fascist state. There are many people who want fascism in the United States. I would rather have an ethno-state that sees the United States broken up. There's an inherent difference in the doctrine of the two. Not saying that fascism can't be racialist. It usually isn't at the current time. Could you give a concise summary of your pagan beliefs? Concise may not be the right word. I would say that fascism is a good basis upon which NatSoc can be an upgrade. I would have fascism over what we have now. Yeah, maybe. Well, see, the problem is if you have fascism, right, but you also have a large minority population, what happens when the minorities get into the fascist political sphere and start exterminating you? The ethnicities must be divided, because we're going to end up with the Austro-Hungarian Empire. That's my greatest fear. And plus, I think that every ethnic or racial group has a right to self-determine. And I don't want to be ruled over by other racial groups. That's just how I see it. Adrian Rosas says, have you read Nietzsche? If so, what other philosophers would you recommend before reading him? What book should I start with? I'm currently going through the genealogy of morality. I've read some parts of Beyond Good and Evil. They're kind of interchangeable. One builds off the other. Nietzsche is an interesting topic. I think that it's not really a good place to start in philosophy, but it's certainly very important. I'll have to come back to the concise explanation of my pagan beliefs. If you have to think about it, just think of it as cultural paganism. I like the culture behind it. I like the works. I like the imagery. I like the sort of the culture behind the paganist movements. I'm not a literal believer. I'm agnostic. That's about all I can say. Ulix Gord says Nietzsche is shit. Yeah, he's shit if you don't listen, if you don't interpret his writings correctly. But I'll do a video on that when I get through this book. How's your morality quest going? Can't wait to challenge you on the moral relativism question. It's going okay. I mean, I've been doing a lot of reading these past couple of weeks, trying to come to a concise conclusion on where I stand. I think that moral relativism is self-defeating, just on the basis of how it operates. So, I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on there. If you want to come on the show, you can follow the link in the description. Yusuf is a Natsock, right? He wouldn't admit it, but I think he might be. Euthyphro says Italian fascism couldn't be racial because inside of Italy coexist different white subraces. Yeah, that's part of the reason why. If you read Mussolini's doctrines of fascism, you'll find out that it's inherently non-racial. I mean, it kind of is, but it really isn't. It's not explicit. So, what do you think of when Malcolm X cooperated with George Lincoln Rockwell, and do you think that the same could happen today with the AR and the Hoteps? That's what I would want. Thanks for the comment, Julian. I would love to see blacks in America self-actualize, where you have people like Malcolm X that lead their people to a new divine state. We break off the United States into specific ethno-nationalist countries. They go their way, we go ours. And this is both selfish and non-selfish. It's selfish because if they self-actualize, then I don't have to fucking babysit them with my white man's burden, right? But for them, it's good because they finally break out of this struggle against Jewish influence that has crashed their communities. So, yeah. So I think Malcolm X and Commander Rockwell is greatest crossover. Yeah, read Plato first. Start with the Greeks: Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. Those are the three that you got to start with. Forced to common language, it would be much harder to break up the empire. I don't know if that's true, Elixir. The Austro-Hungarian Empire broke up because the Pan-Slavic movement started taking power in the parliament in Vienna, and the Pan-Germanic movement couldn't unify quickly enough to stop it. And so there broke out a war between the Slavs and the Germanics. That's what really happened. If you're curious about what actually happened, then you got to read Mein Kampf. Thoughts on Brazil? It's a shithole full of monkeys. The white part wants to break free, yeah. Ooh, we're getting a lot of chat. We're at 68 viewers. Thanks for coming out, guys. This is a brand new record. Talk about Kilroy. Oh, no. I don't want to talk about the ball pit. No. Fucking, oh my God. What a fucking shit show. So if you didn't know, Kilroy was supposed to be like a skeptic, free speech kind of event. And it started off with like, there was going to be like 1,000 people going. And by today, hey, classless. By today or yesterday, only 60 people showed up. So, oh my God, Kilroy is such a shit show. Oh, hold on, I gotta move my chair. One sec, guys.
Just a quick check. Can you get my audio?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Excellent.
Can you say something again?
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2.
Could you turn it up just a little bit? Esoteric Unity says, check out my channel. I think I'm already subscribed to you. I can't remember. Yes, Kanye West is dropping red pills on Twitter right now. Absolutely. Go check it out. It's fucking hilarious. I think he's going to wake up a hell of a lot of people. Yeah, Imri Zatiko says the ethnic element must be preserved if you go extinct. Their ideology was a failure. That's my primary concern with fascism is it's inherently non-racialist. Yep, and Count Dankula will be sentenced tomorrow. So we'll see what happens there. Let me go to your channel real quick. Sorry, I'm checking out Esoteric Unity's channel. What do you think the future of democracy is in America? It's going to collapse. Ooh. These are good videos. Everyone go check out Esoteric Unity. I'll sub to that. That's cool. Classes, are you there, buddy?
Yes, here we go. I think I'm all right. Sorry, I started Googling around for on Twitter there when you mentioned that Kanye was dropping red pills.
Yeah, he is. He's waking up. He's talking about Candace Owens. Like I was talking about earlier, it's a stepping stone towards more right-wing beliefs. So if Kanye is fucking talking about it, oof.
Hey,
Yes.
I was
First.
actually listening to that. I caught the earlier part of the stream, and
Check.
I'm not gonna lie. I myself, as a former leftist or a current liberal, got pulled closer to the center. But
So welcome to the show, Classless Politics, everyone.
Nope.
This is someone I've been talking to for a while now. Out of all of the people who are centrist, this is the only person I can respect because he's not a complete retard.
Well, thank you.
We can have a productive conversation on a multitude of topics. So that's why I invited him on the show. If you're not subscribed to Classless Politics, go check him out. He does a lot of alt-right interviews. The stream has more viewers than Kilroy. Oh God, yeah. 60 people showed up to Kilroy. Thanks for the compliment, guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Yusuf blown the fuck out. Steven Crowder, who doesn't accept that his beliefs require becoming ANCAP. Steven Crowder is a fucking low-hanging fruit. How would you feel about blacks returning back to Africa completely, repatriating themselves to West? Oh, hey, Natera, what's going on, man? Have you spoken to Radio or Andy Worsk or anything like that? I would say that the American blacks who want to go back to Africa need to speak to the Africans first because there is a cultural divide. I know people who are from West Africa, like first generation immigrants, and I know plenty of black Americans, and the two don't see eye to eye on things. I think that that would be totally up to them if they want to do it or not. So it's not really my decision to make. If I don't think it would be a good idea, but it's kind of up to them. Sounds like Base Mama put a ton of money in her cleavage. 85K was raised for this bullshit. Yeah, that's what we were talking about when it first came out that they were doing Kilroy. It's fucking... it's just a money-making scheme. That's all it is. People don't understand that the skeptics are running out of steam, so they're trying to collect as many shekels as possible before the gravy train runs out.
Yeah, I think that was pretty self-evident in the branding that she did, and then her whole argument was trying to, or her whole situation was they were trying to kind of package it so they could, sponsor or be involved with other Kilroy events in other cities and whatnot. You could bring it to yourself, but you would do the organizing, and I imagine they would get a cut from the branding and stuff like that.
Well, Base Mama has about 3 IQ, so
Yeah. No, it's like extremely high.
That's like extremely high. Yeah, I fucking hate that dumbass.
It's a burden. It's just straight up a burden at that point. Like,
Brock, if you'll stop spamming the chat, I sent you the Hangout link. William Mont says, how can we send super chats? I don't have any monetization on the channel, nor do I plan to. So I appreciate the sentiment that you guys want to send me money, but please put that money towards yourself and to your family. I don't need it. I'm perfectly financially secure. So
I didn't know that about you. I really respect that.
Yeah, this YouTube channel is not about me e-whoring or becoming like Baked Alaska. I don't want your money. This is more about actual political motivation.
Yeah, man.
I think Hungarians exist as an ethnicity. All the liberals tell us that we are mixed race. Gets to myself. Yeah, the Slavs in the Balkans. There's definitely many ethnic groups. Do you think that Molyneux will ever flip to us? I almost think he will at some point. Oh my God, he is. He's seen the end of times. He's going to come to reason soon enough. And I think if I ever got a chance to sit down and talk with him, I might be able to change his mind.
Well, I was curious about that when you talk about the stepping stones and being pulled closer to the center and then closer to the right. When you get to the right, you have the two different paths, though. Of
hold on one sec. VTech, no, you're not banned, man. I just told you I can't report on something if I haven't done any research. I already talked about it earlier in the stream. So I appreciate the link, and I'm definitely going to do a video on it, but I need more time to look at it. Don't give your money to Luke Ford, please. Keep it to yourself. Buy books. Anyway, sorry, go on, man.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is the jump from libertarian to fascist that easy?
Oh, it's very easy.
Okay. Because I know a lot of alt-right guys are former libertarians. It's so weird that jump is so quick for me.
Why?
Elaborate, please. Inform.
So libertarianism, and I know people don't want to agree with me, but I have empirical evidence on my side. Libertarianism is an inherently right-wing political position. Okay, you may not believe it, but the belief in capitalism as a purely hierarchical structure is inherently right wing, and that places them on the right in ideological opposition to left wingers who are in favor of egalitarianism. So, since you're already right wing, you're going to be engaging with a lot of people who are generally anti left or at least anti PC centrist. And from there, if you're already woke on the question of racial realism, like I was many, many, many years ago, the jump is very easy because your mind isn't closed to ideas like leftists are.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. I've been bitching about that for ages. The whole fact that the debate, I don't even want to call it that, the argument on YouTube happened regarding the whether or not race realism was legitimate science. I that shit was solved. That we've known that for years. I can't even believe that was liberals dropped the ball on that one really hard.
Uh, let's see. Yeah, Notero, I left a super chat on Worski's Aiden Palin video. I saw that. I was watching. He still hasn't gotten back to me yet. It's been a week and I haven't heard from him. So, like I said, if you want to find out everything that's happening with the Worski debate, go back to the beginning of the live stream. I talked about it for about 5 or 10 minutes there. Calm down, VTech, man. I already told you I'm going to investigate. I can't just report on something without investigating it. But capitalism, super capitalism, is something that inherently destroys culture, thus it goes against tradition. Yes, but that does not mean that it is a left-wing ideology. If we're going to break down politics based on what they actually believe in, then libertarianism and capitalism falls on the right. That does not mean that it makes it true or anything like that, or that it doesn't have faults. It just places it in a category in which we can investigate it. I'm not ANCAP posting. Jolly, I sent you the fucking link to the stream if you're trying to get on. If not, stop shit posting. Libertarianism does intersect with fringe right ideas. Yeah, once you start memeing about capitalism, like you start to come to the right. It happens. All right, Croc, if you don't want your stream invite or your pity party, that's fine. I'm not going to stream with a capitalist Jew, aka classless politics.
You'd have to be a Mormon to classify me as a Jew, but you could get away with that argument if you're a fundamentalist Mormon.
Oh, man. Yeah, so as soon as you, just like Kanye West, as soon as you're open to ideas where you're not afraid to engage with people like classless, you start stepping down the path towards the right wing, because there is inherent truth to the ideas on the right. There's some truth on the left as well, don't get me wrong. I think it's more truthful that there are things on the right based on historical evidence. But once you get down that path, you start watching Alex Jones for fun. Then he starts making sense. Then you start watching Steven Crowder, and then you might watch Stefan Molyneux. And then all of a sudden you're watching this stream, we're talking about esoteric Hitlerism, Libertarians to ANCAP to alt-right. It's all about realizing why freedom from parasitism is so paramount. Yeah, exactly. As soon as you take personal responsibility, which is one of the key tenets of libertarianism, you're open to the ideas of cultural responsibility. Now, the people who have gone too far to the ANCAP side on the philosophical grounds are very hard to break away from that, but it's certainly possible. Gas my underpants. Yep. Anything else for another? Yep. Good books. We'll get in touch with you sometime soon, when we make it clear about what Hinduism. Yeah, I don't really know that much about Hinduism or what the Veda teaches. If you'd like to come on and talk to me about it, that'd be great. We can do a video on it. What the fuck? I love esoteric Hitlerism now. Oh, man. Also, VTech, man, I don't have the stream set up to do the fucking videos. Like, I don't have time to waste trying to investigate. Because like when I investigate something, it's going to take me like 5 to 6 hours, and I don't have 5 to 6 hours to stream. So that's why I'm not reviewing it now. I'm sorry, man. It's going to come out. You just got to wait. All across the board, race realism is growing. How do you think this will play into the growth of the dissident right? Could it actually impact policy in the future? Yeah, it's absolutely growing. And as more and more people are pushed to the extreme, you're going to see more racial realism pop up. Like I said, the whole Starbucks thing is a fucking eye-opener for these white elitist liberals who have no fucking idea what actually goes on. in the world as far as racial politics go. Now they're getting an eye opening because you have a whole bunch of what are essentially just black thugs walking in and demanding free stuff, and being loud and obnoxious. If that's not a fucking wake up call, then you're too far gone. Not liking esoteric Hitlerism beforehand.
Yeah, man. Black Lives Matter helped you out, helped your movement out more than anybody because it pushed a bunch of middle class liberals being like, "What? You all fucking hate us regardless?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you guys."
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that why most leftists or far left are socialists? Is it technically opposed to right wing capitalism? Socialism is not inherently egalitarianism. Socialism is a broad ranging term that's used for a variety of things. The left is more communism. Communism is egalitarianism. Socialism, I think, is actually a centrist idea for the most part because it can interplay between both left and right. What we have now is left-wing socialism, which is pure egalitarianism. Here's your free money. We're taking it from the working white class and we're giving it to the poor, non-working black class. That's just how things are. Right-wing socialism is inherently different. No welfare without work. Essentially, the state puts you to work and they give you a small pension for your work. That's the difference, the main difference between the two, for anyone who is curious. I've read Miguel Serrano's Adolf Hitler, the Ultimate Avatar, and it is an esoteric Hitlerism book, but it claimed that Hitler lost the war on purpose to win an esoteric war against Jews. I don't know about all that. The croc is here. Let's see. What do we have here? We've got a link. Breaking news. David Hogg's book title angers Holocaust survivors. Oh, no. Yeah, Poseidon says they are fueling crime, terror, and leading us into a race war in order for us to accept a police state. That's exactly right. The other thing is that, like, nationalism isn't about just blanket hating other people. It's about loving your own people. And I would rather that black people self-actualize and leave whites alone rather than there be a race war. I don't want to see a race war because race war implies that white people have to die for it. And I'm tired of spilling white blood for it. Avalon Vale says, I'm a socialist in an ethno-nationalist context. Just as democracy is untenable in an oversized or global context, socialism can only work with close social bonds and high trust. Exactly. What the fuck? I love David Zog now. That's funny. Let's see. Let me click on this link, though. I'm curious about what David Hogg is up to now. VTech, I'm timing you out for 300 seconds.
Him and his sister are writing a book, aren't they? Never Again.
David Hogg's book title angers Holocaust survivors and relatives. Got to throw in the relatives there, Goyim. Student turned activist David Hogg has written a book about the Parkland, Florida school shooting and his anti-gun movement. However, its title "Never Again" has angered Holocaust survivors and their relatives.
He written a fucking book about it. Like, how many pages can you get off about a shooting?
It's like a crayon coloring book.
Is there a link to this? Post this link in the chat here, the group chat.
I'm gonna open up Discord.
It's 5 pages of writing and about 50 pages of graphs reappropriated from the SPLC.
I guess probably going to be something like that Lauren Southern book where she sold like a 60-page pamphlet for like normal book price.
Yeah, exactly.
The manifesto.
Here's the link.
That face one.
Put it in the live stream.
Isn't he Jewish? Like, I don't know. I thought he could get away with that kind of stuff.
I don't know, man. Don't piss off the holohoax industry. They're very angry about that kind of thing.
Book title. Has he written the book or is he writing it?
It's due in...
I think he might have just released the title.
Okay, you re-released the title like your fucking movie. He's like, it's in development, guys. It'll be out in 2 years.
Does it come with crayons? Yeah, my thoughts exactly.
Here's the teaser for my book. I'm dropping the teaser.
It'll be ghost written, that's for sure.
Committee written, maybe.
Have you been following Defend Europe's activism in the Alps? Yes, I follow them and they follow me. So I've been watching them. I like to follow a whole bunch of different identitarian groups because I think it's important for all the activism that they're doing. Oh, hello? Sorry, I think I muted myself there for a sec. When are the pre-orders coming for the David Zog book? What do you? The Boulder says, "What do you think about the recent Aiden situation with Holocaust denial?" I think it's a great way to explore the pathology of Holocaust. What would you even call them? Cucks, hollow cucks.
Holocaust.
Yeah, people who defend the Holocaust without like fervently, like this Kevin Logan fellow.
Oh, that guy. Fuck, man. He didn't. He
Yeah, I
had
know.
no idea what the fuck he was talking. He could have at least studied your guys' side of the argument before fucking getting himself into it.
No, he's an ideological zombie. That's all he cares about.
Yeah, and he's twisting words and using definitions. Well, you're not a total Holocaust denier. You're just a partial. Fuck off.
Oh, hey, is Big Cat Kayla live streams here? What's going on? Is Poseidon in the chat? Yeah, Poseidon, man, I was really pissed off when I saw that Baked struck your channel. So I held off my emotional reaction and didn't do a video on it because I didn't want to fucking give him more views. But
Yeah, man, this baked thing is one of the weirdest things I've seen in a while.
yeah,
It just gets weirder, doesn't it? Like this whole alt-right thing, it gets weirder and weirder.
well, I mean, he's
know.
just a parasite. So I saw this coming a long time ago. He wants to be an IRL streamer like Ice Poseidon. That's why he's hanging out with him in LA. That's why he went to LA. He's a fucking money whore parasite. And I don't want him in the movement.
Is
Either
there
host-
like one figurehead in the alt-right that's like fucking respectable? I mean, it's like every month some bullshit happens. Then it can't well just get caught like being drunk in public and acting like a fool. And
Yeah, he's a fucking degenerate.
I don't know, man. It's like every month somebody pulls a stunt, and I don't know. It's kind of sad.
Hey, Phoenician, what's going on?
I'm enjoying it. Not gonna lie.
Are you for the self-actualization of Mexicans as well? Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I want every racial group to self-actualize because not only does it promote peace on this earth, and I don't have to waste resources going to war with some dumb Mexicans, it's good for the improvement of their society as a whole as well. So I want them to self-actualize. I just want them to get the fuck out of my country because they're ruining this shit. Hey, Big Cat Kayla, you're an ethno-nationalist, right? Let's talk sometime about that. I watched your live stream that you did. If you've got time to come on the stream, let me know. I'll send you a link. We're just kind of shooting the shit. Please scroll through the chat. I think Mimir is an ethno-libertarian. No. Don't call me a libertarian. I'm not a libertarian. If anything, I would be considered a right-wing socialist.
Oh, I kind of thought you were an agnostic theocrat. Like, you know, you were angling for your agnostic theocracy, totalitarian state.
I mean, I think religion is an important part of culture, but I don't think it should dominate how we run politics because it's not objective.
No, I was kind of memeing there, like an agnostic theocrat.
I know. I'm just saying for all the people watching.
But anyways,
Hey, it's a hell of a lot better than tragic agnostic, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, the atheistic materialists, fucking degenerate.
That's how Richard Spencer defines himself.
the face one.
Well, Richard Spencer is an interesting character. I don't know if I could trust him because he has the backing of very rich people. So I don't know. But as long as he's talking good ideas, you know, that's all. That's pretty much all we can do.
It's weird because I don't know. Richard Spencer's a weird guy because what he seems to do is he has like a politician personality, and then he has like his more highbrow personality. And you only get a glimpse of his highbrow personality when he does podcasts with like other dudes. He did a lot of podcasts with Jonathan Bowden, and he actually is kind of interesting on those. And then he has this new podcast series on his channel where he talks with two other guys who are possibly his gay lovers. And those are actually pretty interesting. But usually when he's just like on a live stream or something, he seems kind of dull.
Yeah, hold on one sec. Okay. find the Twitter here.
Hey, wait a minute. Are you censoring VTech? I don't know.
I timed him out because he's being fucking annoying.
He's speaking in all caps. He's trying to get across the message of this video. What is he trying to talk about?
He's trying to get me to talk about trannies and AIDS. Not something I want to talk about right now. Plus, I haven't investigated it, so I don't know much about it.
What the hell?
I'm not going to waste my time on something I haven't investigated. So it's like, shut the fuck up.
VTech, you're not banned.
You're not banned. I timed you out because you won't stop spamming the fucking chat. I'm not going to watch it right now.
What the hell is you? Anyways.
Yes, for anyone who doesn't know, Oliver is taking an indefinite break from live streaming. I don't think his heart's in the right place right now. Maybe he's going through something. So wish him the best of luck, and hopefully he'll come back soon. What do you guys think of David Duke? I mean, I don't really have any thoughts.
He's kind of a weirdo.
He is a bit of a weirdo, and it was really funny watching him debate Tree of Logic. That was about it.
I think he has some connections to Dugan. That's the thing. Like Dugan has some weird connections with Spencer, Duke, and Heimbach.
Dugan has connections with Jay Dyer. If you didn't know.
Well, Jay Dyer is a fucking orthodox cuck. I mean, I'd expect those two to have connections, but like the other two, I wouldn't have. Well, the other three. It's not that I wouldn't have expected it, but I just didn't know it.
Vinny Hortensio says, "Are you a socialist?" Not in the sense that you think socialist. No.
I always like to make this joke. Well, not in public, but I'd say the two most popular candidates for the 2016 election was a socialist, Bernie Sanders, and a nationalist, Donald Trump. I'd say, like, if only we could combine the two.
Yeah, like fucking Power Rangers. See, the problem with people like Bernie is not only is he anti-white and a Jew, but he wants to take money away from white people and give it to black people and Hispanics.
It's a national socialism joke, Mimir. I was just joking.
I know, but I'm talking legit. I'm using your joke as a running point. So essentially, the reason why I wouldn't want National Socialism in a unified America is because what it's going to end up as is a bunch of white people working and having their money taken from them and giving to non-workers.
Of course, fuck, we got that going on now. We don't need National Socialism to exacerbate that problem.
That's what I mean. Right now, as far as I'm concerned with, like, if in the next election, I'm probably not going to vote for anybody because there's no reason for me to. I don't like the U.S. government. So, I mean, as far as the U.S. government is concerned, I'm a libertarian, but my actual ideological position is right-wing socialism. Venetian says, how often do you live stream? I've never seen you do this before. This is the 8th live stream that I've ever done, and we've just hit a new record of 81 people, so thanks for everyone for tuning out.
You need 7 more. Let's get it, folks.
Yeah, let's get up to 88 viewers. Everyone share the stream.
Spam it out.
So tired of explaining the multicultural democratic socialism versus ethno-national. Yeah, it's such a shitty decision. That's why I don't normally, like, if someone were to come up to me and say, hey, what's your political position? I wouldn't say right-wing socialism because it'd be too fucking hard to explain to these low IQ nerds.
I don't know. Why are you trying to explain anything to boomers? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the stuff boomers are eating. Maybe it's they've watched too much TV or Fox News, but their minds just seem gone.
Yeah, it's
the pragmatic political tactic is always going to be to approach the up and coming generation, right?
Yeah, this is the other reason why I don't like accelerationists is because their message isn't palatable.
Yeah, but it gets the job done, man.
No, it fucking doesn't.
I'm thoroughly expecting boomers to basically just never die, just discover like a form of immortality because they never seem to die off. So I don't think they're going to do us that courtesy. Like the boomers will probably be around for like 150 years, and you know.
We're still waiting for half of them to retire to free up the jobs, for Christ's sake.
Well, they'll import brown people to take those jobs before they give them to their kids.
Endeavor says, "Do you consider yourself a reactionary?" Reactionary, not in the sense politically. I'm literally reacting to the current state of the Western world. Yes, as far as monarchism is concerned, I think it's a viable possibility. Maybe in the future, once your aristocracy. If you want to know what I think about monarchy, go check the last live stream that I did, which was all about monarchy and the Scandinavian invasion. We're so close to 88 viewers. Liberalism is, in fact, a mental disorder. Oh yeah, sorry, Falconeer. I saw your message, but I haven't had a chance to talk about it. What do you think of Discord leaking chat logs to anarchist furries? This is the main reason why I only really use Discord to talk, like to message other people. I don't use it to, like organize things. If I organize things, it will be on a private chat server. Hold on, Kayla, if you're watching, give me 1 sec. I'll send you the link. I just got to open up Twitter on my desktop here. Avalon Vale says, I have heard too many goddamn boomers saying that if the race war were kicked off and I saw a pack of blacks and a pack of Nazis coming towards me, I'd shoot the Nazis first. I tell you what, yeah, that's the problem with boomers. They're too fucking stupid for their own good. All right, let's see here. Let's go to my DMs real quick. Anarchist furries. LMFAO, what timeline is this? Blacks who scream destroy white supremacy are in reality calling for the destruction and annihilation of white culture, white civilization, and the white race in general. Yes, exactly. My keyboard's extra fucking loud.
I don't know, man. What's the guy's name? Ryan Falk. He talks about this shit all the time where it's like left-wing blacks aren't like left-wing. It's not ideological. It's like a biological motivation for like hating white supremacists. They don't have, I don't know, the different races, they just don't think of things in the same way. So
they don't. They really don't. That's why I think that we should all be separate. So, I mean, that's my biggest motivator is like, hey, I recognize that you have a right to exist in whatever home country your ancestors gave to you, right? But I don't want to have anything to do with you. I think that you should actualize over there. Go do your own thing over there. You know.
Well, there's some guys saying like Dugan's a weird dude, and look, the problem that I have with Dugan is that this whole thing is chaos and confusion. And the problem with this is, well, his fourth political theory, from what I understand about it, I mean, he has the weird Eurasian concept. He has his orthodoxy nonsense, and you know he has a bunch of dumb shit. But basically, he thinks, from what I understand, he thinks that you should pursue all threads. You should try anything to get into power. So,
extreme Machiavellian. Yeah.
Well, it's like his chaos and confusion thing. Basically, it's like you guys. I'll post some videos in this group chat. Mimir can post them in the Spurg chat if you guys want. But like the thing is, like he's all about backing radical groups of every kind. He backs radical white nationalists. He backs radical Marxists. It doesn't matter because his whole thing is about attaining power, and then you put into effect the things that you want. So he's it's lying is what he's doing.
Rabbi Glickman says, question, should I eat corned beef on rye with a crispy kosher pickle or have bagels and lox with extra schmear instead? I would go with the bagels and lox. You know, as much shit as I talk on Jews, bagels are fucking delicious. I can't deny reality. Bagels
are Jewish?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry to break your reality.
Guess I'm never eating a fucking bagel again.
No, come on, bagels are great.
That's not happening now. It's too far.
Hey, but corned beef is Irish, god damn it. You stay away from my food.
Too many people have died.
You know that's why us liberals love multiculturalism so much. It's all about the food.
My food.
I love mocking the food thing now. Like I love whenever I'm arguing about a liberal, I'll always go to my way to bring up like, look, man, I know you like all your different foods, but all this shit ain't worth it. Because that is
like good Mexican food. I'll just go to fucking Mexico to get it. I don't want a fucking Tex-Mex place on every goddamn corner in my street. Like, how about you know how hard it is to find authentic European food in the city I live in? I have to go to a wall place to get real.
That is hard. We have I think the only European authentic place. I'm waiting to go to this fucking place with this girl. I want to take her on a date with it, but she's never free. But the only authentic place is like a French cafe that it's like a hole in the wall. and that's like it's the only place. All the other places are like American grease joints or, you know,
Man.
ethnic in quotation mark shit like the Mexican food, which I
Look,
hate. I mean, I've had
look,
Mexican food and I fucking hate it.
Mexican food is fucking amazing. I say that as a Texan. It's fucking amazing. But
You're
goddamn
disgusting.
border jumpers, stay on your side. Like, we'll exchange food. I'll give you some veal, you know, and some beer, and you can give me fucking burritos and quesadillas and shit. Pupusas are really good. But the best food place in the entirety of the city is this little hole in the wall. It's a Bavarian food place, and it's like legit Bavarian food. And they have a live band there that plays traditional Bavarian music. You go in there, it's like one of those old timey pubs where like the walls are wooden and they've got these creaky wooden chairs, and you go sit down and you listen to some Bavarian Alpine music, and you get your veal, your Wiener Schnitzel, and I'll order a Hefeweizen. Oh, it's amazing.
I think your chat's giving me shit here, Mimir. I don't think I like this chat. They're taunting me right now. They're saying "never free" in quotation marks. What are you guys implying, you assholes?
Cooking on bagels is a slippery slope to cucking for Israel. No. I can make my own goddamn bagels, but I have to recognize that bagels are really, really delicious.
Why don't you make croissants instead now? Because croissants apparently were invented from the Siege of Vienna, and there's by like Christian bakers. Apparently that's how they were created. That's the story I heard.
Nobody here has a problem with cultural appropriation. You can make your own bagels. You can make your own Chinese food.
Yeah, man. There's a really good Russian place that I enjoy. What's it? I usually get
I've never had Russian food.
Oh, Russian food is amazing. It's like Slavic food is really, really good because it's pretty close to German food. Like vinegar, pickles, onions, cabbage, carrots, mayonnaise, things like that. It's all so good. What the fuck?
You nigger.
Get that shit out of here.
Fucking nigger. I was calling this guy what was I calling you, classless? I was either calling you a communist or a Jewish capitalist. It was a Jewish something.
Jewish capitalist. No,
there
my bad. There, I went to go type something in the chat and I didn't realize I had my fucking soundboard on.
some memester is asking you, where'd you create the name Mimir's Head? So you want to answer that question?
Where is he? Let me see it.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Caesar did nothing wrong. I saw your question. I don't think I answered it. My bad.
Caesar did everything wrong.
Let me scroll up and find it. Oh, I'm sorry if I'm VTech, if I'm intellectually honest, where I actually do research before I fucking report on something.
Why are you responding? That guy's like feeding on your attention. Stop doing that.
Yeah, I know.
I was gonna say bring him on. I want to argue with him about Mexican food.
Fucking bring him on. I want to derail the show.
No, legitimately though.
Here we go. Here's his question. Okay, since the United States was built mostly as an ethno-state, why should we cede territories to blacks and Hispanics? Because the alternative is race war, and I'm so fucking tired of wasting resources and good European blood on pointless fucking wars. Just let them have, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and whatever. Just let them fucking have it. When they turn it into a shit show, we'll go back and reclaim it. But just let them have it.
I'd be willing to give up like half the fucking United States to get rid of the minorities, because they do make life a hell. They make everything miserable.
I've been working on a video about the breakup of America. I'll probably launch that this week. Probably. See, there's multiple ways to do it, Phoenician. Send them back. Right. You can do that. But the Africans don't fucking want them. And then as soon as you start a racial conflict or any type of war in the United States, you're going to get involvement from foreigners. Okay? So I don't really want to involve anybody.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like they don't want to split up. I don't think they do anyways, because they know like white society is basically a free meal ticket.
Yeah, exactly. So which is why we have to radicalize whites to say no more.
Well, it's just like white people. I don't know. They really don't get it, but it's just like the minorities know they're getting an easy ride when they're in white societies, and if white people want to remove white, like I don't know, non-whites think that like white people, they're entitled to like white people, of like access to them, and they want to be around them because white people just make, you know, not even functional societies, but just societies that are like pleasant to live in. So yeah, they don't want this shit to end. They hate white people, but they don't want the fucking Gibbs train to end. And they know if we separate.
Unity Valkyrie Mitford, no, I muted him from the channel, so he can't talk anymore. That's why the messages are retracted. Welcome, Caleb. What's happening?
Not much. How are you guys doing? Thank you for the invite, Mimir. Mimir. I always wanted to say Mimir, but
God damn it, no one can pronounce it.
You know,
too esoteric.
Anyway, that guy who asked the question, where did Mimir, I think it's Mimir, where did he get his name from? There's a pagan story of this god of wisdom called Mimir, ends up getting his head cut off, and Odin preserves his head so he can keep his wisdom. And I guess he carries his head around with him. I think he actually does carry his head around with him on a belt or something.
Yeah, he carries his head in a sack, as far as I know. That's one in.
Jesus.
Isn't he the dude in the tree in God of War?
I don't know.
Well, you know, Mimir's well that's controlled by the three witches. He's an Aesir, one of the gods, and he's an interpreter of profound knowledge. That's how I've heard him described. And he was killed in a conflict between the Aesir and the Vanir, and Odin stumbled upon his head and picked it up, and he found out that the head was still talking and was still giving him profound wisdom, so he kept it with him because Odin was still seeking knowledge and wisdom. So
it might be Mimir. I think it might be Mimir. I don't know. But anyways, no, I thought he was killed after the war was over. He was like a hostage.
No, it was a dispute over. It was an exchange of prisoners between the Aesir and the Vanir, and because the Aesir had tricked the Vanir went out and got their revenge by killing Mimir.
That face one.
Liberals and blacks argue against the white ethno-state, but we all know if there was ever an ethno-state, they would be beginning to be let in. I don't know. The whole balkanization thing of the U.S. is very interesting. Kayla, you're from the Midwest?
Yeah. Not originally, but I'm there now. So
okay.
I don't know if the U.S. is ever going to balkanize. I mean, balkanize racially. I mean, because I don't know, man. Like people just don't care about their race. Like they really don't. It's really hard to get them to care about that kind of shit.
Well, I think there's such an ideological struggle going on as well. I mean, for people, with our ideology, right? We see it as a race thing, right? Because that is the basis. There is a genetic basis for the division that's going on. But I do think that, liberals or, civic cucks, whatever you want to say, right? They always think that it is just ideology. And I mean, if you can convince them that you will never be able to change the minds of others, then maybe they will accept a split, just not on racial lines. It will inevitably be on racial lines, but if you can convince them it's not a race thing, right? Because they don't see race.
The issue is that if we don't break up the United States, they're going to gain political power, and then they're really going to step up the extermination of non-blacks. Actually, it's going to, like, just like how it is where I live, there's a race war that's been going on since the 60s between blacks and Hispanics, and that's what the U.S. is going to turn into. The western half of the U.S. is going to be all Mexican, or whatever fucking 56% amalgamation. They're going to secede. It's going to be a civil war between Hispanics and blacks, and whites are going to be trapped in the middle of it, and they're just going to get wiped out. So I think the best way to do it, the most pragmatic way to do it, is to slowly change use the political system against itself, and then in a controlled manner break off the United States. But like I said, I'll do a video about it. I've got a lot.
I don't think there's going to be a civil war with Mexicans and blacks, because mestizos are on the whole slightly more intelligent. Also, the black population is either stagnant or falling slightly.
No, what I mean is that because at the current level that we're at right now, if this trend continues, which is the only way that we can make a prediction that's in any way objective, there's going to be a massive amount of Hispanics in the West, and there's going to be a massive amount of blacks in the East. And if both of these two groups are the main racial political groups, they're going to come at odds with one another, as they have done always when they come in contact with one another. Here in my city, I was subjected to 10 years of a race war between Hispanics and blacks. It's everywhere they go, when they interact with one another, they fucking hate each other. Blacks see Hispanics as invaders. The Hispanics see blacks as subhuman. That's just how this whole thing works. And if they come to power, they're going to be fighting over who has control of the federal government. And if it comes to that, there will be a civil war led by Hispanics, and the opposite side will be led by blacks, and whites are going to be caught in between it. It's an inevitability if the trends continue as they are now. The thing is, you have to look at this from a realist perspective. Like, the only data we have is in the here and now. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. You know, NYC could get nuked tomorrow by Israel. We don't know. So we
let's hope and pray for that.
Yeah, we all know they're not going to nuke their own. We can hope.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think regarding blacks and Hispanics, I mean, right? You, like you've said, it's been happening for a long time. I mean, yes, it will continue to escalate, but you know, yeah, you look at California, especially in the LA County area, right? They are absolutely warring with each other, and they're trying to hold on to, especially blacks, right? They're trying to hold on to the territories that they've already had. But I mean, anytime that you ever see it explained, it's always, oh, it's a gang thing. Right. It's well, it's, you know, I mean, MS-13 fighting with the Bloods, or, you know, oh, it's the LA, you know, sorry, Latin Kings, not LA Kings. It's the Latin Kings, you know, I mean, fighting with the Crips. There's always another explanation for it. And I think that's why people are able to just accept it. Right. I mean, yeah, blacks that are honest, I think they will say that we do see them as invaders. They are trying to take our shit and our land. And, you know, yeah, Hispanics don't like blacks, right? At all. They don't.
No one likes blacks, if they're being honest.
Yeah, the Bible says there won't be a civil war, they'll just raise taxes on whites. Yeah, that's not what I was getting at. It's not going to be a civil war in which whites are in power. It's going to be between the dominant minority groups in the United States, which are Hispanics and blacks. That's just, even if it's just on a local level, if you have a city that's divided 50-50 between Hispanics and blacks, they're going to come at odds with one another. That's just how they operate.
Well, I do think that, you know, I don't know. I always feel like, right, they are trying to, you know, flood the country with low IQ races, and that Jews will eventually just simply be able to rule over all of them, right? If there's, and it's a really, you know, simple explanation. Oh, if Jews give them enough gibs and so forth, and enough, you know, federal prizes, I guess, in a way, then they'll just leave them alone. Right, they'll fight amongst each other, and then they can just rule over the chaos in the way that they're trying to do, in a way, with the Middle East.
This is kind of another thing that I'm not sure about. Like, I believe one of the reasons why Jews basically get infinite access and, you know, to the culture and to the levers of power. I mean, one, there's the racial thing where white people don't really understand that they're a different racial group, but the other thing is, like, I think Christians kind of have a thing with Jews, and they let them get away with a lot of shit. Yeah. And I don't think, like, mestizos.
Don't deceive yourself. Okay, they're going, like I said, I'm talking about future events once whites are no longer a majority in the country. Okay. Yes, they're going to unite against whites. I get that. It's happening now, and it's going to happen for the next decade. But once whites are no longer in the question, what are they going to do? They're going to turn on each other. Sorry, go ahead, Crow.
I was just saying, like, well, the thing of, like, Jews ruling over them. I mean, I'm just not sure, because, you know, they have trouble keeping these coalitions, like, docile now. But when these coalitions are, mestizos really is who would inherit the United States, because, like I said, they're more intelligent, more organized.
Barely.
You know, they're a bigger group. Well, I mean, they beat blacks. I mean, that's the thing, is that they do beat blacks. Blacks, they're just not, like, effective.
I know lizards that are more intelligent than some blacks. What's your point?
Well, you know me, which I probably have like 145 IQ, easily.
Big tits. You call yourself based?
Yeah, I'm based. I'm a little crocodile. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm pretty Aryan. I think crocodiles are based Aryan lizards. But anyways, No, like I think it wouldn't be a race war; it'd just be the Hispanics, mestizos, whatever, rolling across blacks like a tide going across the beach. Like I don't think blacks would put up a fight, really.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but based on my life experience, my opinion as it stands now is that they're going to fight with each other over control of the federal government.
No, they will. I'm just saying, like blacks will lose that fight. It's not going to be much of a fight.
I don't think we touched on who will win or lose, but yeah, the blacks will lose. To everyone who's saying that Europe is a lost cause, I don't agree. I think that's blackpilling, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't talk like that, because there are plenty of Luca Trianis running around. As what's his name? Who said that? As Euthyphro said, the far right is rising. You have to remember that these population groups, the highest is like 10 to 15% in France. There's Europe is still more homogenous than the United States is.
That's what I don't get is like these people saying Europe is doomed. I'm like, guys, like, I mean, maybe you're looking at Sweden and Germany and France, like the worst of them. Admittedly, they're like the biggest fucking countries and the most important, but like you're looking at like the worst, and you're ignoring like huge parts of Europe that are like, basically 99% white, like ethno states like Switzerland and shit like that.
They're getting woken up super fucking fast because they have to deal with a super liberal government. So they're really going to accelerate more than we are. I mean, so like as Patrick Little talked about when he was in Austria, all of the like police and the locals are supporting an openly anti-Semitic party. It's like, yeah, there's way more hope for Europe than there is for America at this point because they have way less minorities.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm gonna have to agree with this. It's like Europe, I mean, even ideologically, because the problem with the United States is, I mean, in my mind, you get a lot of these things when you're talking to skeptics, and it's like they'll say dumb shit like, "Oh, I don't have a problem with white nationalism," or Christians, and they're like, "Oh, I don't really have a problem with white nationalism at an abstract level, but putting it into practice is impractical." And they basically like to conflate white nationalism, in America's case with like every white country, when it'd be completely possible for someone like Iceland to just say like, all right, no more foreigners, and then that's an ethno state. That's it's an ethno state, like, right, you already have it.
Yeah. There's always hope. So long as white people exist, there's always hope. Don't forget that. I hate when people get blackpilled on this shit. It's like, yeah, things are bad and things are only going to get worse. That doesn't mean it's the end. It's the end times. Everyone, take the Varg pill. It's like, that's fucking retarded. If you're not going to stand there and fight, then, go somewhere else. Don't engage in my sphere. That's the only thing. Like, the major issue I have with Varg is it's like, hey, he's taking the defeatist pill. Everything's collapsing. Just go live on a farm. Okay, well, what happens when the Pakistani rape gang comes to your farm and burns it to the fucking ground because you have no support? Because all the white people moved out into the countryside. You need to take this fight to the streets, to the big cities. And Phoenician says there's too many liberals in Europe to fix Europe. I don't think that's true, because as their comfort zones get pushed more and more, they're going to come to the right. That's just an inevitability. And the past 10 years, we've seen a rise in right-wing populism in Europe. That's back.
Mimir, I have a question that has been coming up as I'm listening to you guys talk about this.
Sure.
I've never heard this addressed, or I've never asked this of an somebody informed in the alt-right. Why is it that white people seem to not have the primacy of race, as alt-type would say, that other races seem to?
I could probably give like a few big reasons.
So you have two things. One, it's more productive for whites. If you're wondering why our societies are so productive, is because we have altruism towards one another and empathy, which means that we gain high trust, which garners high intelligence. And there's lots of other naturally selected traits that improve the intelligence of whites. But this has been taken from us and used against us by certain outside actors. It's been turned on us, and now it's pathological altruism. It's okay. Called...
no, but is the only excuse the JQ? Because I did want to caveat with, like, I'd like to hear a little bit more of a genetic or an environmental. I guess the JQ could.
He hasn't even brought up the JQ in this explanation.
Well, you said by outside actors. I thought that's what you're referring to. Sorry.
No, that's why I didn't say Jew. I said outside actors because it's a ton of different people. It's not just Jews. It's even their own white people themselves. But it's also in some part due to Reformed Christianity, like Protestantism. It's very self-flagellating. And very openly and accepting to other different groups. It's a globalized religion. So,
I mean, that's the thing. Like, when the reasons why, Jesus, like, I mean, I think it's impossible to really know. The big reasons, in my opinion, easy living, modernity in general, people don't interact with reality, and they can willingly not interact with reality. I mean, it's things as little as like, you don't have to do a physically demanding, deeds in your life. The heaviest thing most people lift is their 5-pound laptop. So you get these just delusions that creep up everywhere, these fantasies, because people they don't have to interact with reality, right? You can well, you can commute, right? You can commute an hour and a half to your job, and avoid living in the neighborhoods with blacks. So you can live in your nice white suburb, but you're just taking the cost to the teeth by commuting. But I mean, it's still, you're not like living in the reality of the nation. So that's probably one, with technology and whatever, just obscuring how things actually are. I would say the atheism that we have, which I just view as another evolution of Christianity, just like Protestantism was an evolution of it. So you like the secular atheism, absolutely ruining society, or just the Christian nonsense. Yeah, the masochistic, Christian.
You look at all of this, like, internal racial hatred that people have for themselves. Like, I retweet a bunch of stuff on Twitter about whites that hate themselves, and there's this one girl who says that she fucking hates being white and that white people are most evil on the most evil people on the planet. And it's like, that's indoctrination. That's pretty much the experience of whites in Western countries, that they're indoctrinated to hate themselves. And so what they are is they're not xenophobic, they're xenophilic, which means they have more preference for external people. So Alt-Hype did a video about this leftist xenophilia, which it's a couple of different studies where they oh god, what was it? They put, like, that old philosophical question, you got the train tracks and the two different tracks and how many people.
The utilitarian argument for Jeremy.
Yeah, the utilitarian argument. Yeah. So they did the same thing, except they did it with racial groups. So are you willing to sacrifice one white person for 5 blacks, or 5 white people for 1 black person? And the people who were liberal would rather sacrifice Tyrone instead of Chad nearly every single time, regardless of their utilitarian stance. They are pathologically motivated to support non-whites rather than whites. And it's because of this altruism that's been naturally selected in white populations. Now, the same thing doesn't exist in other groups. There's no altruism in other groups. That's why the West has been so successful and has completely dominated the world for the past 100 years. Like, all of culture in the modern world is Western culture. If you strip away the Mexican food and the fucking Chinese takeout, it's all Western. All the technology, all the inventions, everything is Western. I'm reading.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think the weakness is there, just because white people are kind of dumb and naive in their specific way. Like, I don't think we're predisposed. What?
Can you elaborate what that specific way is for me?
It's the same way that, like, Jews are dumb and naive. It's this foolish idea of, like, thinking. It's like this foolishness of thinking in ideas and, like, abstracts, and, like, getting in these little, like, mental mazes that we build for ourselves. And, like, I mean, you see Sargon do this shit all the time, where, the truth is, like, right in front of your fucking eyeballs, and, just reality as it is. I mean, it's the hardest thing to explain to, like, white liberals, because they get indignant at reality. They don't like how reality is. It's the atheist towards God and saying, like, well, I'm not going to accept God's putting a limitation on me, so fuck him, I'm going to be an atheist. It's the kind of, like, the hatred towards natural law.
Okay, so in the study of, as far as I know, in the study of sub-Saharan African languages and the concepts that sub-Saharan Africans developed in their societies before whites came, there was no concept of the abstract or the external third self. This is a problem, because without that, you can't develop altruism or empathy towards one another. That's why they're so incredibly violent towards one another, because they haven't developed that. And if you can't be empathetic to your neighbor, then how can you engage in trade or in science, or even be secure in your life so much that you can sit down and read a book? Like, if you're worried about your neighbor coming over and robbing you, you're not going to sit down and enjoy art and the aesthetics and science and things like that. That's why their societies haven't developed at all.
Okay, that's the genetic bioevolutionary explanation I was hoping
Yeah.
for. Something along the lines of a JQ. Like, I'm sick of hearing that as an argument. It just goes to show nothing but if you're arguing for the primacy of a race that doesn't seem very good at avoiding the so-called subversion of another race.
The only reason I see whites as a primacy is because that's the fucking group I belong to, and I want to see that group flourish because I enjoy that culture.
I think white, whatever European culture is. I mean, I don't know, man. I've looked at a couple other ones, you know, like Chinese, Japanese, you know, a little bit of like Jewish, like from my minor studying into these other cultures, they don't seem as interesting as like European history and culture. I don't know. Maybe in my opinion, I think whites like are probably one of the objectively best races on the planet. Like, we just seem incredibly interesting and like relevant.
Every society, every civilization that's ever been created that was higher than mud huts and fucking, you know, basically Africa tier, have some genetic markers that are similar or the same as Paleolithic Neanderthals, right? So if you look at East Asians, the Han Chinese, the Koreans, and the Japanese, they have the highest amount of congruency with Neanderthals. So do whites. Whites actually have the highest amount of congruency with Neanderthals. And the Neanderthalic populations were some of the smartest proto-humans that ever existed. So when you have what is it, Homo something or other, proto-human that mixes with Neanderthals, you have extremely smart and extremely violent mixed together, and that's where Asians and white people come from. And that had allowed us to create the civilizations that we have. If you look at every society that has failed to create any sort of civilization, they lack these Neanderthal genes. I don't know what it is. I can probably link you to some good studies, but that's essentially what everyone is missing. They're missing that intelligence from this proto-human population.
Even as a liberal, I'll accept the science with you on that one there. That 2.7%, it was discovered back in like 2014, I think, or something.
Mimir is getting into some esoteric Neanderthalism right here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to follow him down this road. No, I would actually countersignal you here because East Asians, I think Japanese, have more Neanderthal DNA than whites. It's like whites have 1%, Japanese have like 3%. I can try and look it up right now, but
I thought it was larger than that. I thought whites were generally like 8 to 10, or like 7.
Neanderthal admixture. Let's just look that up. Okay. No, I know it's an Asian race has the most. Let me see if there's a graph.
Ariadon says the Neanderthal studies are biased. Yeah, I don't disagree. This is all kind of like new science that's still coming out, but it seems to hold true if you study human history. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's an absolute fact or anything like that. It's just something interesting that I came across. And yeah, 7 Phoenician sub-Saharans have 1% Neanderthal, meaning there was a Eurasian introgression thousands of years ago. Yeah, there's a back to Africa migration that happened, especially out of Iberia. I could have swore that Europeans were higher than 3%.
I think they're lower than 3%. Hold on, I'm looking right now. I'm trying to find it.
I'm seeing that Eastern Europe and Asia is about 3% or so. And then, pardon me, my voice is just gone from the last week. And then, let's see, Central and Western Europe, that is 2. America, and yeah, for the most part, the Americas are 3 as well. And then Africa, you get into your 0 to 1 or less than 1. Australia and the Indonesian islands, they're about 1.
When you get into 1%, you start to get into territory where it's like, okay, well, some of these genetic markers could be you could take them as being legitimate, but it's kind of hard to tell because of the lack of samples. So when you're getting into the 1% area, it's kind of hard to say objectively whether that's true or not.
Well, yeah, what's the sample size and then what's the margin of error as well? I mean,
Notaro says the Neolithic Revolution didn't happen. That's actually a lie. That's completely false. I'm just gonna put that out there. So anyway, Kayla We're on the Brexit Party stream a lot this past week. What did you think of your interactions with his stream and his audience and the people he had on there?
I mean, for the most part, I loved his audience. I loved the fellow guests. I really did. Honestly, I'm happy that I was able to go on. I was given the opportunity to meet people like yourselves. Just because I'm new to the internet, and so pardon me. I've always I've seen people, and I wanted to actually start reaching out and meeting like-minded individuals, I guess you'd say. But yeah, there was a little turmoil that happened. There was about, gosh, it would be at least a 12-hour argument. I mean, I'm just doing the math in my head because I'm like, okay, 16 hours one day, but I won't count all of that. 8 hours the next day or so. I won't count all of that. But yeah, it was there was the argument of whether a greater white identity that and I know is not mutually exclusive to your own ethnic identity, right? But at the same time, we couldn't reach a consensus on whether whites all over the world, whether in Europe or the Americas and so forth, should maybe team up to some cultural or spiritual level as a unified front against the unified attack that is happening on whites as a whole. And so, it doesn't mean, and these were kind of the arguments given that, well, it will lead to some sort of an EU-like situation. We're going to be forcing, in a way, some like NATO type military on England. America will be dictating things, will become, imperialistic again. And it wasn't the case. And so, I mean, I want to always believe that unless I know the person that I'm talking to is a douche, right, and is just dishonest, I want to believe that the people I'm discussing things with, right, they're being intellectually honest. And I don't know. I mean, I get there are strong personalities on here. People are stubborn, right, or dogmatic in some respects, and but when presented with different evidence or anything like that, right, we're all willing to change our minds to some extent. But yeah, a lot of people were thinking that the argument going on for so long and being brought up multiple times in a different stream was just divisive. And people came up with their own theories on who Brexit is. But I mean, yeah, I think we should at least unite over the common goals that we have, or the common enemies that we have. And we can argue about our differences, our smaller differences later. So those are my, I mean, it was
the impression I got is it's very ideologically driven. A lot of that stuff. It's go, but let's see. We got some more questions in the chat here. Sorry, I've been reading them.
Just say, as an outside observer, yeah, there has been a lot of interdrama in the last little bit. Yes,
there absolutely has, and I and to some extent, right, it's like you get it, but at the same time, if you're going to argue, close the door, close the windows, and argue where people that want to see you argue are not given the chance to do so.
Come on, no one ever does that. Like, no one's gonna follow that advice.
Why are people airing their dirty laundry? Come on.
I mean, what do you think? It's a body. I mean, like, this movement, any political movement needs action like a body needs air. What you're saying is just because we lack a direction or any sort of like concrete action, we're just collapsing in on ourselves. That's all it is. There's nothing else to do.
Natera asks, where is the evidence for a Neolithic revolution? I'll turn you to all of the archaeological evidence and anthropological evidence of the inclusion of animals and plants in this river valley about 8 to 10,000 years ago during the Neolithic period. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that they were the first to start cultivating animals in the world. There's sparse evidence to suggest that it may have happened also in the Caucasus region and in Europe and in Asia, but the most evidence primarily, and the oldest evidence primarily, comes out of Iraq and northern Syria, where they actually started the Neolithic revolution. That's where it comes from. I'll turn you to that if you want to learn about it more, but this stream's not about that. Yeah, the drama is from the non-serious actors. The fame chasers are creating the drama. Yeah, that's why we talk about being against East all the time.
And that's something I've observed too. But it's a very high population in the leadership. It seems
there is no leadership really because there's no unification.
Well,
Somebody's
sorry,
saying
there are thought leaders and figureheads. You do have your people who speak in a more public manner, and I always give you props for seeming to maintain a level of value, and at least you seem to walk what you preach, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that this is not about getting money or making e-celebrity status for myself. This is about a political movement that's very important to the future of the Western world. It's like all of these people who, people like fucking Baked Alaska. It's like I don't particularly care what he has to say. So when he stirs up some drama, I don't really want to talk about it. And you have all these other people who are so ideologically motivated. This is my problem with the NatSoc movement as a whole. Is why I don't explicitly come out and say, "Oh, I'm a National Socialist," like because no one can agree on what that means, and there's too much infighting. All of the different National Socialist groups across the world, it's a group of like 10 guys who go to a bar and talk about esoteric Hitlerism. That's not exactly a political movement. They're not exactly political theorists or strategists. So.
No, I think, we should be able to in some way have, almost like a Venn diagram, right? I'll have my circle, you'll have your circle, and there will be this crossover, right? I'm not going to be so focused on what's in the rest of your circle, right? Let me just focus on our common goals. Let's not, I'm personally, I'm not going to focus on, what religion you adhere to or whether you adhere to any at all. I'm not going to, kind of focus on what your economic plans are. I think there are, much bigger issues right now. Even just in terms of, hey, do you not want any immigration to the US, right? Like, do you maybe want some sort of peaceful separation, at least the idea of it? But if I start focusing on all the little differences that you and I share, I don't see how that's going to help us progress, at least in the larger scheme of things right now. I don't get it.
It's important for us not to focus on these things. And that's the problem with people on the right are either, incredibly low IQ who shout memes all the time and they're not really into the whole nuance of politics, or you have people who are so deep into politics that as soon as someone says, "Hey, I disagree with that economic policy," they want to gun them down in the street. It's like, no, there's a measured response that we have to take with this. It's like, yeah, not everyone's going to agree on things, but the basic principle, the most important one, the fact that Western society exists and should remain as it once was, is the one thing that we should be unified on. And this constant infighting is ridiculous.
Yeah, see, this is the problem I was talking about earlier, where white people just think far too much in ideas. If you try to get like a black person into all this like race, egalitarianism, sex egalitarianism, they don't like this shit and they just don't accept it and they don't listen to you. But you can do these verbal flourishes that Jews are particularly good at and get white people to believe in some really dumb shit. So
it's not that if you were to bring it to me, I wouldn't say I dislike it or I recoil from it. I just offer it up to libertarianism in that argument. I'm not for I'm not for exerting control over another individual when it comes to their sexual
right, and
choices.
that's why I'm having you here on the show, is because you're not a complete dumbass like most centrist or like you can actually engage.
I don't know. In
classless is not a Jew. Enough with the Jew.
Oh no! Yeah,
we
can make this argument. Hold on, we can make this argument, but I want to at least give it to them, because if you're gonna make me a Jew, you have to believe in fundamentalist Mormon philosophy. Because I have First Nations native DNA, and according to Joseph Smith, they are a lost tribe of Israel. So you can make the argument, but I'll give it to you.
I'm sorry that I brought up this whole. Actually, it was Classless's fault for bringing us into this whole metaphor.
It's what I do, man.
Yeah. I don't. We really don't have enough time to really go into it. Yeah, the whole Denisovan thing and the history of human evolution. I could do a whole live stream on that, but I just don't think it's that interesting, to be honest. I think we're more focused on the future.
That's right. You're gonna come onto my shit and red pill me on the Great White
No,
Replacement.
no. Look here, lad. Well, the Great White Replacements. I mean, come on now. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Of not observing reality. It's like entire neighborhoods are just transitioning from like one racial group to another in less than a lifetime. This is not a normal thing. This isn't like a normal occurrence. All right, this doesn't like happen normally in history. So when it's happening in front of your eyes, like something's wrong here.
So I haven't experienced that in my life, but that's why
Okay,
I want
personal
Mimir's
anecdote.
but I know, but Mimir's gonna red pill me. We're gonna sit down. He's gonna give me evidence, and we're gonna go down about it.
He's not saying it's not true. He just hasn't seen any evidence for it yet. So that's what the intention was, to show evidence of it. But if you just, one of the primary things you can look into is there's a lot of really strange coincidences, lots of contradictions between people. Like you have these groups, these Jewish identitarian groups who say, we're pro-Judaism, we're pro-Israel, we're pro-ethno-nationalism so long as it applies only to Jews. And then they turn around on the other hand and demonize any sort of white pride, even if it's just a celebration of like St. Patrick's Day. They vilify it and slander it in the media as sort of like ethno-nationalist, like white power movement. It's like, no, it's just a celebration of our culture.
I mean, I've talked to what?
Go ahead.
I was saying, like, I've talked to some types who seem to be like you, and the problem that I run into is like they just don't accept anything that I give them, as in like, oh well, you can look at this trend in the culture, or you can look at these people doing this, and when it gets down to like, it can get down to, oh, is this just a trend, or is there a malicious intent behind it? Is the desire for less white people to be around, or is it just a bunch of random coincidences happening together? And I mean, ultimately, it comes down to like, you're not going to get a document of people, saying like, all right, let's kill off the European race. Well, you might actually get that, but I mean, you're like, it's not going to be so clear cut, and you're not going to get like solid evidence of like a murder trial or something. You got to like infer these things. It's just not as easy.
So one thing, I don't take it that you're arguing in bad faith, and I don't assume malicious intent. That's why I bother to engage. Like I said, am asking to see evidence in a lot of circumstances, because I've been around, I've talked to lots of people, I've heard a lot of their arguments, and I've dove into some evidence, and I don't disregard a lot of arguments on that specific issue. I haven't been quote unquote red pilled or woke on it, but yeah, man, I'm open to it, and I got an anecdotal argument, and I get plenty of anecdotal arguments. I was just saying, Mimir is going to sit down and go through some evidence with
really, like
common sense.
And I do just want to say, if you want to talk about genetic replacement and genocide in any sorts, talk to the Native American population in northern Canada and throughout northern United States. It's a perfect example of it. They've got a much shorter time scale than you before they have to worry about that.
No, well, they have reservations. I mean, are they going to be displaced on the reservations? What are you talking about?
No, genetically.
How so?
There's a lot of interbreeding, and most of them are not pure Native American in the first place.
Well, I know that. I mean, it's like the blacks in the U.S. aren't pure black. Like they have like a 20% white admixture. Yeah,
but it's expected that within the next 5 generations or so, you're looking at a cultural genocide, and then within the next,
they've already had a cultural genocide. Like, the Native Americans are basically a dead race, to be honest.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the point that I'm making. So it's I want to see the evidence on the side for the white race, and then the projections for that.
Okay, well, let's get away from we can get
off this. It's all good.
Okay, so here's something that's very common amongst people who are anti-Western. This guy says, whites actually don't deserve a homeland. You have terrorized the planet forever. You should be enslaved and raped to death.
Well, like that's not...
Hold on. Let me finish.
Not all liberals, right? Like,
no. This is extremely common. This is not just one guy shit posting on the internet. This is extremely common. There are tens of thousands of these posts online. And then when you see it, when people talk about it in the news, on the media, when you interact with people in real life, there's plenty of people I know personally who encourage white people to not have children. that would encourage the enslavement of white people. I've experienced this my entire life as a white minority. It's not just some esoteric thing that, it's a conspiracy or whatever. No, it's real life. People actually want to see whites enslaved and outbred.
They're not liberals. But hold on. I just want to say those people aren't liberals. Those people are leftists. Because if you're a liberal, it doesn't matter to me. We shouldn't be encouraging the extermination of any race, period.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't be, but that's not how reality works. Again, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, of people aren't thinking in real terms. You're thinking of this guy's a bully. Why is he trying to say we should kill all white people? It's well, this is just how reality is. It's so he's just operating on his natural biological impulses to do these things. I don't know why you're surprised.
Hold on, it's a natural biological impulse for him to encourage the extinction of the white race?
Yes, when two fucking different groups of animals are in an area and they're competing for dominance, yes, it's obviously a natural impulse for one group to want to wipe out the other.
Hold on, look at what the Bantu did to the South African natives. They've completely eliminated them, completely destroyed their genetic line. In fact, I'm pretty sure they genocided every single one of them. The only ancestors of the native South Africans are pygmies.
No, but I'm talking about the white dude. Why is I'm talking about the white dude encouraging weren't you talking about white people on Twitter who are encouraging their own genocide, or liberals on Twitter who are encouraging their own genocide?
No, it's all different types of people. This guy was yeah.
Okay. It's always got the parentheses.
And I mean, even regarding whites, because a lot of people do make this argument in the sense that, well, how can you say that, all these other people are against whites when you see whites that are against themselves? And I mean, just as Mimir was saying earlier, right? I mean, what was that young girl saying? I hate being white. We're horrible people. We've done horrible things in history. Right? I mean, there is a very, involved indoctrination going on, teaching a very shameful, a very altruistic race of people, right? People that are, other than the Japanese, I believe, right? We do experience shame at a high rate. And,
Netero, it's not white supremacy, it's Jewish supremacy. We've been lied to. Just saying.
No, well, look, man. The thing is, this idea of indoctrination. I sort of believe it, but I think the main problem here is we're a demoralized culture, people, and we know that we're on the losing side. We know that we're being ethnically displaced, and what does a weak, demoralized, losing population do? A lot of it turns traitor. I mean, it's the French women marrying the Nazis. It's any sort of war brides where the woman betrays their in-group for the victorious out-group. I mean, this happens all throughout history.
I would say that Mimir's argument that the isolation of the individual and the technology and the separation from the community would have a bigger influence, because I don't think a lot of white people aren't just aware. Like, your average white person doesn't, when you go up to them on the side of the street, be like, what's the great white replacement? They don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right?
Oh, they don't know shit about shit. Like, I can ask them anything in history and they wouldn't know nothing about it.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly. It's a very internet thing. So what, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, what point are you trying to make? I mean, an average white person not knowing anything about anything doesn't make a point. It's just,
No, I'm just saying, I think that's a little bit of Mir's argument makes a little bit more sense to me. Like,
it's a multiple. I mean, it's a complicated thing. Like, we could have hours-long streams explaining every single reason for it.
If people aren't consciously aware that they're being replaced, then why would they be admitting defeat and going off in race mixing?
It's an unconscious thing. I mean, when people know the way the wind's blowing. I mean, you could see it of the race mixing. I would say propaganda is going on now, like having the meme pair of the black male and the white female and just stuff like that. It's just,
how often do you see that relationship being pushed in the media? It's like, okay, yeah, black male female relationships are such a statistical anomaly that it's not even worth talking about. But when you go and you watch mainstream media, it's like, yeah, to them it would, if you only watch that, it would seem like it's happening like every other couple.
Well, I don't know if you know, but
well, hold on, I agree with that, but is there an epidemic of? I thought a white person is more likely, or a black person is more likely to breed with a person of their own race, regardless of that.
Yeah,
is the media influence actually influencing those statistics at all?
Of course it does. With showing people things on TV affects them. Like, What do you think? Like, showing people things, propagandizing relationships has an effect. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it.
I guess
You
genetic.
realize the only outlets people have had up until the late 1990s, early 2000s was mainstream media. That was it. The TV and the radio, that was it until the internet came along. So that was the most dominant thing in people's lives was TV and radio before that time period. And a lot of anti-white shit, pro-Marxism, cultural Marxism, all that shit was in the media for decades and decades. And that was the only outlet people had to experience the outside world. And so over time, you get these generations of people who are so indoctrinated that it becomes like a cult. Leftism is a cult.
Why do you think they're trying to, I mean, there is a struggle for control over the internet, right? We are seeing these types of manipulated Google search results. I mean, I just saw it today, right? Look up, white pregnant woman. And you see a white pregnant woman standing there with a black man and his hand on her belly. It's, I mean, like, I just saw this today.
Do the same search
I never Google that, but that's fucking hilarious.
Well, yeah, look up, look up.
Well,
like,
look, man, you got to view.
People, and they're all, like a large majority of them are just non-white. It's there is a, I mean, I hate the word narrative sometimes, right? But there is this narrative. There is kind of this storyline that they are holding to in the mainstream media, right?
So
and
I agree with you. I do agree with that. Yeah, I do agree with that. I do think there's evidence for that. I'm not sure how much influence it has because I do think there's a genetic primacy over that.
Well, think of it this way: like, what
race, regardless.
What influence does commercials have on people? Obviously, like, commercializing something like interracial relationships through media is going to have an effect because commercials are universally effective to get people to buy things or to do things to influence behavior. I mean, the other thing I would say is that when average white people are asked in the United States to estimate the racial makeup of the nation, they always grossly overestimate, well, not always, but I think the majority overestimate the minority populations. So the depictions in media of like having so many non-whites in it is warping people's viewpoints and making them think that this nation is more diverse.
You have to understand, the government experiments that they did in the 40s, 50s, and 60s in psychological programming, a lot of that research that they did was, I don't want to say stolen, but leaked and also used by these media corporations in the 50s and 60s to influence how people act.
Dude, I watched all fucking 6 hours of Century of the Self, man.
Yeah, exactly. So that's part of it. So then you look at all these government organizations that are promoting xenophilia, particularly a lot of Jewish ones. Just a coincidence, though.
Well, and then even Dick McBastard in the chat was saying that, the narrative really influences women, to be honest. And I think he's right? I mean, women and children, they do have, I believe, like a more malleable mind, right? Because they naturally want to be able to work cohesively within a society. And so if it's being told to them and showed to them, this is society, this is the way it is, you're going to want to operate within that, right? Because it normally guarantees your safety. Or at least it does ensure your safety.
It affects.
Well, this is why women's liberation was such a prominent thing in the early 20th century, because women's minds are by nature, and this isn't a dig at women, but this is just how nature works. Yeah. Women are naturally designed to follow the narrative because that's how the human social dynamic is. And so when you quote unquote liberate them and put them out in the sphere, not only are you crashing the labor economy by introducing 50% of the population into the workforce, but you're also allowing them to engage in this manipulation by certain groups, giving them a voice, in the media and in governance, and giving them more of a role in society allows these ideas to propagate.
I've kind of, I mean, I don't know, this isn't like a fully thought out thing, but in my opinion, it seems like women are usually moral Puritans, and it just oscillates between two extremes. And the modern, the modern, what's in fashion, moral Puritanism for women is just the, purple-haired dyke, lefty. But they're still like Puritans. I mean, they're still absolutist on what they believe. I can't introduce any of my opinions on them, otherwise the conversation ends right there. Even minor stuff like not liking feminism will shut down the conversation immediately.
Yeah,
I had a girl call me a Nazi because I cited not even specific crime statistics, but because I mentioned that black people have higher crime rates than whites, just because I mentioned that.
Yep. Well, Xenophon says women are evolved to look for consensus, and that's absolutely true. If you look at the social circles that women engage in, the culture of that social circle, whether it's a group of friends or a work environment, is completely driven by consensus. Because if in the natural world, before humans created civilization, to engage in society, it had to be done on consensus. Because if you were kicked out of society, there goes your safety net for not getting eaten by a feral animal. You have to stick together. That's part of the tribalist nature of human beings, and women are a part of that.
Exactly. Well, that's also one of the reasons why the state replacing the familial or the tribal safety net has completely just fucked up the natural order. Pardon my language. But I mean, you do have these women that, yeah, right, they want safety because obviously that helps reproduction. And I mean, now we kind of are discarding the role that strong men play, that social cohesion, or even I mean, what
Well,
social
this is the thing, and I talk to a lot of girls because I'm a lady killer. But I mean, I
Yay.
talk to like a lot of young college age girls, and there is a conformity of opinion among them that is. I mean, I don't know. I just modern society is extremely feminine, and it really is like this hyper femininity that pervades like culture, because the opinions that women have and like their pure unadulterated kind of ridiculous, when they're taken to the ridiculous extremes, seems to be the opinions that society has, where it's like they want to have infinite care for everybody, like they have this like maternalistic view for all these other races of like all the poor third worlders, and it doesn't matter how much damage our society gets, they want to take care of all of them. And they have this thing where like they want to protect every group no matter what kind of havoc it causes. And I think that's just the modern attitude in society, is this like extreme maternalism and like feminine, idea of virtue.
Oh, and you see the low birth rates with white women, and yet what's the number one group wanting to travel to Africa and help, little African babies, or I mean, those participating in overseas charities, right? It is white women, because we do have a natural tendency to want to care for the weak or the young. But no matter what, if we have our own, we're going to want to care for them first, and we will want policies that will help us do that. And so, yeah, it is.
It's a weirdest thing because, well, it's not really the weirdest thing because I know why it happens, but it's just when you see the duality of like how resistant a lot of women are to having children, but then like how they have like proxy children politically. It's just weird. It's perverted.
That's absolutely it. And it is perverted, right? I mean, because and even with feminists now, right? I mean, they are dried up, unhappy, childless women. And the only way that they can justify their existence, right, and their past actions, or more so inactions, is to make sure that the next generation is just as childless and unhappy as they are.
Yeah, I don't know what this culture does, and or the school system, or where the fuck this comes from, but it's this idea that a lot of women say, where they think like birthing is gross and having kids is gross and painful, and I'm just like, where the fuck are they getting this idea? I honestly want to know exactly what's causing it, because this idea is just, it causes fucking havoc. And this one girl that I really like, she's like my friend now. It's taken years to get that idea out of her head. I finally kind of did, and now she's like more positive towards the idea of having children. But it took years of like talking with her about it to finally get her out of this attitude of like hating the idea of reproducing.
Yeah. So there is a consistent trend in sort of the women's circle, sort of the media that's targeted at them, to say that it's basically just feminism. They're teaching them you need to be independent, you need to have a job, you need to go to college, you need to be 30 years old with no family, no children, working as a slave for some corporation. That's basically what we've been telling women for the past 30, 40 years, and it rubs off on multiple generations. So they view motherhood as something that's opposing liberalism, which is the dominant political climate that's been in the United States for a while. And it's just something that they're taught by the media and their cucked parents and their other friend groups. It's that consensus culture again. And to the chat, we're not blaming women. We're just explaining how this kind of thing happens. I don't blame them for their name.
It's this one guy is saying, I don't understand why feminists even call themselves feminist when they represent the complete opposite of femininity. The very idea of, I mean, it's baked into the ideology. The very thing of like feminism itself, one, which is not gender egalitarian because it's literally called feminism. It's like if I started an ideology called manism and said it was gender egalitarianism, it's false. Like obviously, it's like or starting an ideology called Jewism, and I'm like, oh no, guys, I'm for all races equally, but I'm a Jewismist or something like that. Like it's baked into the ideology of this dominance of femininity, feminism, the very name. It comes out
of the critique of the cultural critique that came out of the Frankfurt School and cultural relativism. That's essentially where it comes from, saying that there's no real objective right or wrong. There's no human nature, none of that shit. And they've turned motherhood into a symbol of non-liberal thinking, essentially.
Well,
go ahead.
When you give women, when women are like actively, one, in politics, and two, like campaigning for more power in society, these are two things that are complete opposite of feminism, of like the femininity of like actual female nature. So you're getting something that's baked into, it's like a core part of the ideology that feminism is, you know, it has a leveling effect on society because it makes men more feminine, but it makes women more masculine. It's this weird inversion that it plays, but that's because it inverts the nature of the genders.
Yeah, and I mean, I forget who was saying it here, but yeah, women are extremely, I mean, the women that have chosen this strong woman independent lifestyle are extremely resistant, right? They will not have the conversation with those, you know, kind of telling them, well, hey, maybe, you know, if you're focusing 40 plus hours a week on your job, you're not going to have any time to focus on a man. Or, you know, well, women need men and need to be needed. And when you go back and look, have they read this tweet? And you're blocked. No discussion.
I don't like, I don't know how you other men do, but like with me, the hardest thing in dating modern women is like they just always seem to be busy. And maybe they're just yanking your fucking leg, but a lot of the times like they're busy in their classes or they work a lot. And yeah, it's just hard getting a fucking date down. You know, it's hard like getting together with them at all.
That's what they're trying to do, is that there's this culture where women have to be busy and their primary focus is not to start a family. So there's no time for dating for them because they have to compete more with men, obviously. But all in all, this is the reason why I don't, what's the word? I shit on MGTOW a lot because it is men's fault all this happened. And there is no going your own way, fellow men. This is our fucking fault, essentially. If we wanted to take back power and enslave women, we could do it tomorrow because there's physically nothing that can stop us.
I don't like MGTOW because all the MGTOW people I've listened to are like complete moral nihilists and they disgust me.
That too.
Like, it's interesting to listen to them, but when a guy like Barbar or Thinking Ape, whenever they get into their opinions of the world, they're basically like, oh, I don't really give a fuck about what this person does at all. You know, I don't, you know, if they're a tranny, oh, I don't really care. Like, they don't have a prescriptive view of the world. They're just kind of, to me, they just seem like hedonists or, you know, lazy fuckers.
It's a complete maintenance of ego.
Dump you before you can dump me, but just taken to such an extreme that it's this defeatist, anti-natalist movement they've become a part of.
I mean, I have a lot of sympathies towards MGTOW, though, so I can't really talk too bad about them.
Well, the thing is, like, some of the men's rights things are true. Yeah, men get the shaft in civil court and family court, but the problem is, it's not women who are the problem. It's the men who are in charge of the government that's the fucking problem. If you want to make a change, it has to come from the men. You can shit on you want to. You can shit on feminists, but they're not the ones in control. Well, they have men by their balls, actually.
I'm gonna have to defend MGTOW here because. One, I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, I'm all for the maybe white Sharia thing. Like, I'd be okay if we went that far because, like, the culture is so dysfunctional. We need to return to something like something that is resembling like traditional European gender roles. But it's
that's not Sharia. Sharia is just complete enslavement of women.
Well,
I don't
inherently anti-European.
Some women might deserve. Well, that's why I said traditional European gender roles instead of white Sharia, because I don't.
I
The
don't
white
think
Sharia
there's any
imply-
less degeneracy though in those cultures. It's just under the surface.
Well, okay, those cultures are different, and I shouldn't have said white Trudy because it's kind of a dumb meme. But like, what I mean is that women need to be under men's thumb, I guess, because that's just the way it needs to be. And we've experimented otherwise, and it hasn't turned out well. And I don't know, as sad as it is, and like it's kind, I don't know. I'm going to use the term Aryan here, but it's Aryan to have gender egalitarianism, to be honest, because the Northern Europeans seem to be very egalitarian naturally to their women, and they seem to give them a lot of respect and power. But when you take this in modern society, it's just men can't control it. Like they can't, they don't know when to stop and put limits on women.
Well, that's why I'd actually maybe it's just me being nitpicky, but like regressing to which point of traditionalism back to I think it's pretty standard that you want to remove a woman's right to vote because women's inherent femininity is going to lead them to voting towards policies that would weaken a nation, according to the general.
They're not actually made to
not-
engage
but-
in politics.
But not regressing to the point. Are you advocating for regressing to a point where a man can still whoop his woman if she's inappropriate in some way?
Well, look, man, I don't think it'd be necessary. I mean, in my, preferred society, I don't think it would be necessary for men to be like punching women or something because.
That's pretty degenerate because that doesn't promote social unity.
Well, hold on. That's if we're in a society where men have to go around like beating thoughts on the street, like we got some bigger problems to worry about because like obviously something's going wrong here if men have to like beat women with iron rods or some shit like a Muslim country, like a Muslim shithole. So I don't know. I mean, I always think, and this is why I'm for like every household having a gun and stuff. Like your citizens should have a lot of responsibility. You should give them a lot of freedom. So.
Well, in the traditional world, it wasn't. In the traditional European world, gender roles weren't enforced; they were just known. It was just intuitive. So, if you look back, all of the stories I've read about pre-Christian Europe, it was always kind of intuitive what the world of women was and what the world of men was, and they kind of joked about it back and forth. And there was just natural understanding of this is what women do and this is what men do, and then there's no crossover in between.
This is the thing. I mean, there was that back then, but I think the problem today, and it may be like so many things, unsolvable. And I'm not trying to blackmail here, but it just may not be solvable because when you look at like ancient societies, what's the difference that I see between like mothers today and mothers like 1,000 years ago? It's how they raise their children. Well, and it's the mates they pick out. But in the way that they raise their children, it's like today they want to neuter their sons. They want to make, because what women view as obviously the biggest danger to women is going to be other men. But today, women don't understand that there are still like barbarians on the outside of society. So what they try to do is they try to like neuter and emasculate their sons because they view the most in their husband, because the most immediate men in their lives that can cause them danger are the ones in their family. So they try to make them as least dangerous as they can. As like this, well, in my mind, it's like some preservation instinct. But they don't understand, you got like barbarian Muslims and blacks that are waiting to prey on you. So with these white women making their sons weak on purpose and wanting their husbands to be weak and domesticated, it's going to cause a lot of disaster. Where in the past, women would want their husbands and their sons to be like warriors. These would be the men in their lives that protect them from other men.
Yeah,
I think the term like rights is kind of, it's not really true. We just have to recognize that we're I wouldn't even say it's equality. It's just recognizing that we are different and we each have our own individual roles that neither other gender can fill. It's just sort of recognizing the duality of men and women.
And I just want to say, like, that's the thing. I'm a biological essentialist on this argument, and I agree with you, Mimir. If you remove the government regulation and any form of restriction that goes on these kind of issues, you're going to naturally have women and any genetic influence regarding race or culture, etc., regress into their own way of being naturally. And I would be all for that because I'm all for not having government influence the way humans tend to make themselves.
Well, that's the thing. Is like the other part of what I was saying is when you have a society where women they can basically eat the cost of having emasculated men and like having these inverse gender roles, because there's no barbarians that are immediately going to like rape and destroy you. You know, you can like have this temporary inversion where you're rich enough to be stupid. And this is kind of the thing with modern society is like modern women, and this has always been here. This is what people don't understand. It's like the genders aren't harmonious in the way that, you know, it's not like this harmonious dance that you know, there's never any friction. The genders collide on a lot of fucking things, and they're meant to. And women try to dominate men, and men trying to dominate women, and it's a fucking battlefield, right? Love is a battlefield. But when you get, there's no like equalizing effect. So when women who are pursuing their, I would say like natural womanly feminine interest end up dominating men, it's they don't pay for it. Like where in normally in nature they couldn't pull that off forever. Now they can. So they just keep getting away with it. Where in nature, you know, their men would be killed and they'd be taken as slaves.
So we agree on the state of nature. It's kind of a disagreement on the social contract.
Not well. I mean, if you understand the state of nature, then you have to apply that to your system of governance. If you understand that the state is a natural expression of how humans behave, you kind of have to work with it, and that's why I'm on the right, because right-wing political theory is based completely off of the state of nature of humans and working with it rather than against it.
No, look, this one guy's saying women try to dominate men when men fail to be men. I think it's in women's
masculine, and women are trying today's society to be masculine to fill that role subconsciously.
Submissives in culture constantly test dominance out of an attempt to find a proper dominant.
That is true, but I view women as, I don't know, maybe paranoid or subversive. I mean, in my opinion, I've seen this in my real life too many times to count, but it's this, the woman will basically one way or the other get rid of the father so they can like have unlimited access to the child and not have the fatherly masculine influence. Like I think there is something in female nature that desires to destroy the father of their child in like this weird way of like they want total like this totalitarian maternity.
Envy.
It's not penis envy. It's just
no. It just sounds like some Freudian penis envy shit.
I think you can see it play out. I mean, I've seen it play out way too many times of like this totalitarian maternity or instinct that I think women just have, and I don't see this. I don't see men doing this. I don't see men trying to get their, you know, mothers away from their kids in the same way.
Yeah, I think Jordan Peterson refers to it as like the dominant consuming feminine nature.
Kayla, did you want to chime in on this?
Well, I was thinking, I mean, when it comes to women wanting to, and this is so disgusting, women wanting to castrate their own boys, right? I see it as not necessarily removing the masculine aspect, right? Just for removing it. It is, I believe, right? It's this greater appeal to society because we are a first world. We only really have first world issues, or at least the real world issues are being ignored. But at the same time, I mean, like you said, Jolly, right? The barbarians are at the gates, and no one seems to be recognizing that. But also, I think there is this this thing where women do believe that if they appease society, and now that we have entered in a way this type of lynch mob society, I mean, it's really played out on social media and so forth. The ability for people to collectivize behind this idea, right? And whether it is this anti-male type of ideology that's being pushed, I do think that they're almost doing it in this selfish way, or this self-sacrificial way, because nowadays, right, I mean, if you show yourself to be a self-sacrificing white person, you are accepted by society. And for whatever reason, women have been in a way almost taught, or they've changed to where children are no longer the most precious thing, and you do whatever is best for them. And maybe they do think they're doing what's best for them, right? They are creating them so that they will be accepted by society, or even hold some sort of special victim status as some transgender, or, you know, as some beta male that will be protected. But at the same time, I mean, even going back to the way that women see birth as disgusting, or being pregnant is, you know, oh, it's too much work, I don't like it, it's gross. Well, I mean, even with myself, right? When I was younger, I thought, oh man, you know, no, birth is too painful. Giving birth is gross. And that's only because I was never taught that giving birth was gross, right? No one ever specifically told me those things. But the big thing was that nobody ever told me otherwise. Nobody ever told me birth is a beautiful thing. Children are a beautiful thing to have, right? This is your number one role. This is what you were made to do. And I think getting back to that, where we start expressing those sentiments to millennials or to youths, or, you know, whatever you want to call them, that has to return, right? We have to remind them that it is a beautiful, it's a special thing that only they are capable of. And I mean, you know, and women are supposed to fill a supportive role. They are not supposed to lead. They are not supposed to be the warriors of society or the politicians, because we see how that works in Europe, in Sweden and in Germany. It's just, it fucks up the entire natural order, pardon my language, but it does. And even with those women, you know, Merkel being the best example, why, she has no children. So either these people are childless, or they're living so far removed from reality that they are not subject to the consequences of their choices. And if women are still, you know, being taught that independence from men is a good thing, is a successful strategy to employ, then it will be the destruction of us. And I do think that the supportive role, and that each sex fills their individual roles, right? I mean, women do things, and their jobs are things that men either can't do or just simply shouldn't do. And it's the same exact way, you know, that women, you know, there are things that men do that, you know, I mean, sorry, but women shouldn't do. It's just that simple. It's not about some unfair thing. It's that everyone has their roles. That's it.
So the only difference in my approach would be if there is a person, regardless of their gender, who has an expression towards the masculine and wants to engage by the same standards, they should have the opportunity to engage under the same standards. But if they don't, there is not an equal outcome. I can't be faulted for those statistics.
But
Yeah, I mean, there is this.
Just for the outliers, and that's just an argument for the outliers.
Yeah, I mean, I was a tomboy in school, right? I still to this day, and I know the chat's gonna love this, right? I don't get along with women. I naturally do get along with men better.
No one does.
Spray out. Get your thoughts spray out.
Then we get Nick in here.
Yeah, but they serve no purpose to me, right? I mean, I can't reproduce with them. I don't want to reproduce with them. I'm not going to be providing them any security. But I do understand that, you know, maybe their minds need to be changed. And so, you know, right, I was a tomboy. But
the woman-to-woman social dynamic is actually really important, because one of the secondary roles of women is to maintain community. And it requires women to interact with one another and to help each other, not only raise children, but to sort of organize things behind the scenes while the men are out hunting.
Well, this is kind of
along with one another.
This is kind of the thing of like, I'm a trad tomboy, but it's kind of what I view of like the weird perversions of human nature, which I think honestly, if you don't have any female friends, probably is perversion. You probably need some female friends. You need to have like a feminine space. Yeah, but the thing is, like, when this is one of the reasons why I think people don't want to have kids, and men just, they don't have to really think about it. But women, I mean, they can't avoid it because they have all the organs built into them, so they usually come to these conclusions. But it's not like most men probably. Well, they wouldn't think it's gross or disgusting, but they'd probably just be neutral, or they just wouldn't want kids. So. They wouldn't be as bad.
Let me hold on real quick. Let me answer this. Avalon Vale says, I'm a cooperative, agreeable sort of person, but it's very frightening to me, the thought of giving up my autonomy and whatever rights I have to guys today in their current state in the society. That's the thing that I was talking about earlier, is that you can't really talk about rights, because we're talking about two wholly different jobs within society. So if you're worried about, this is why I don't like the white Sharia meme, because I'm not just to come out tomorrow and say, okay, women are no longer allowed to drive, or women need 5 male witnesses to confirm a rape or anything like that. That's fucking ridiculous. The problem is that women have too many rights in the male sphere of things, politics, the economy, leadership positions, things like that. I wouldn't even really call those rights. It's just things that they've been taught that they need to do. They're too much involved in the male space. So I think we need to make a distinction between having like open air women's slave markets and like just putting them back in their place. There's a difference.
You goddamn cuck. No, but
that's how European societies have worked for thousands of years.
Well, look, if you're going to go back to based, glorious pagan times in the Roman Empire and Greek times and stuff, there were probably slave markets. So, I mean, you're a cultural Christ cuck. You're a cultural Jew. No, but Avalon Vale said women in the alt-right are actually getting along swimmingly. It's my suspicion that most of those women in the alt-right, like the figureheads, are probably trannies.
You guys have a serious thought problem.
We don't have to get an esoteric transsexualism of the alt-right, but
well, I mean, a lot of women, a lot of people actually are just trying to parasite off of a movement that they see is growing, and they want to get it. Like Baked Alaska, he's just trying to get in on a movement that he sees is growing, so he can make money. And lots of women do that because they need resources, because they can't rely on men, quote unquote, rely on men because of current culture. So they just kind of leech off of it.
I want to ask you guys, how many of you are kind of loner types?
I'm living with my fiance, but yeah, other than that, I am.
Very kind of isolated, that kind of thing?
Definitely.
I'm not an introvert at all.
What about you, Mimir?
I mean, I certainly don't. I certainly need some time to be alone just to think about things. But no, I went out last night and hung out with a bunch of people downtown. I like being extrovert. I like.
Well, I don't know. It seems to me like a lot of these. What?
Are you saying like are we introverted, or are we just in a way isolationists? With how we prefer to. I mean, because that's the thing, right? You can be an extrovert, but
spend most of your time alone, or do you spend a lot of time out amongst groups of people?
Oh yeah,
I'm a total isolationist. Like I have like one friend. I haven't seen that guy in months. I basically don't talk with anyone.
Yeah, I'm like Jolly. I get along with people when I'm out, right? I understand how, I'm not totally, socially maladapted, but at the same time, I do prefer to be amongst myself.
The Glaucon figured me out. He's saying I'm screening autism. Yes, I was trying to find which one of you people were autistic in a low-key way. No, but anyways, the question was like, we're getting back to the perversion of human nature of like women not having feminine spaces, men not having masculine spaces. I mean, we're dealing with such a dysfunctional society that, I mean, we're social animals. We're supposed to have tight knit like communities. We're supposed to have like big families where we know each member, and we have like a lot of friends that we know very well for like our entire lives. But I think part of the reason why women don't want to have kids is because we don't have these tight-knit communities. It's the immediate nuclear family, and most of the time they don't. The immediate nuclear family, in my experience of white families, don't get along that fucking well. Like they don't talk a lot. They're just kind of neutral about things. They're okay if their kids are degenerates. If the parents are. Usually, I mean, to me, most people don't seem to have that many friends, especially in the alt-right. So it seems like it's just a very dysfunctional society, and of course, people wouldn't want to have kids in this like.
Well, I just want to say,
space.
You're working from a bit of a biased sample there too, because it's primarily an online movement, just due to technological reasons. But I'd say that's definitely a circumstantial, because I can't argue from anything else but
I don't know.
well. But the reliance upon that family and community and that unity, I'd say that like that's on you, man. That's on your real life of getting out there and doing that.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like it seems to me a lot of the like at normalish white people that I knew or meet or whatever, they just seem to have a slightly, I mean, just dysfunctional lives, just messed up family, not a lot of friends, and that's in real life. And like I'm not their friend or anything. I usually don't hang around with them for that long, but I do talk to a lot of people.
Yeah. So what was your point about what were you getting at? You're asking us if we were individual isolationists.
Screening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was autism screening. No, it was autism
that's
screening.
right. Sorry, yeah,
I mean,
okay.
my autism radar is going off, like, because Mimir's here, and it's the readings are off the charts, so
Yeah,
I can't
he
really.
might. Yeah, he might be clouding my frequency. I'm pretty sure I'm not autistic, but you never know.
Yeah, you're getting residual autism, like a secondhand smoker
I do
from
spend a lot.
Mimir,
I do
and
spend a lot of time on Discord.
you might not want to do that. But anyways, it's like right wing version of Facebook, at least to me, because I'm on a bunch of right wing Discords, and like everybody's always wasting their time on there. But no, I was just asking to determine like if you guys live in this kind of weird state that a lot of people in the alt right seem to, where they're just loners and they're kind of like it's almost like they're reconstructing masculinity in like the traditional lifestyle, where the modern lifestyle is dysfunctional and alienated, and they're trying to rebuild a more traditional lifestyle through the online movement.
Well, that's why I talk about it a lot, is that there's a lot of people in the dissident right who are not really engaging with society, and it kind of turns them towards extremism. Obviously, they're in an echo chamber, depending on who they interact with. But for me personally, it's never really been like that. I've always been a social person. When I was younger, it was a lot harder to get out there because you're a young person, you don't really have autonomy. But as I grew up, no, I have a fairly large social circle. I like engaging with people. People like engaging with me, I guess.
Well, I think that's why, even I decided to, go on the internet, right? Go on streams like this because, we do have this desire to want to connect with other people. And whether you call it making friends or just simply, having discussions, we do have that. I mean, that's why people in the chat are actually talking with each other, right? Because it's still, to maybe a much lesser extent, right, it does still fill that desire that we have. And
Well, for me, it was more like I can't engage like this in real life. No one would allow me to talk about politics in this way in real life. I'd immediately be ostracized. Just the area that I live in. So this is kind of like an outlet, but not really.
Oh, and Kayla's not Jewish, Jolly.
Sorry, and accuse me of black pill all you want here, but like that's just feeding into the idea that was the concern about the weakness amongst white people in general, with the more advanced societies becoming technologically isolated, and then you get isolated, and you still see that genetic need, biological need to be a social creature manifesting itself online with us sitting here and talking. But
yeah, I talk a lot about people engaging in society as well in previous lives. It's like, hey, you guys get out there and get out of your echo chamber.
Yeah, take your time. Yeah, get away from the computer and go out and have a real life. Like, I restrict my time that I spend online as well.
Yep. Anyway, okay, so I guess I'll kind of move on to the last subject for this stream. Has anyone seen the movie Falling Down? Anyone here?
I haven't, and I got to leave on that one. You should have saved that get off the internet point for the end of the stream, because your whole point is like, we got to get off the internet, but let's stay on this live stream for now. So it's just kind of funny. But no, I do got to get off because it's getting pretty late.
Well,
all right. Well,
and for the record,
you can allot it to certain times. You spend a certain amount of time online, and then make sure you.
Oh, I'm just joking around.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to troll my way out of that one. I'm sorry.
Is like the moral of your whole speech there was like, we need to have real lives and get off the internet, and then you're in like a 4-hour YouTube live stream saying that. But what were you saying, Kayla?
Priorities. Oh, I was just saying. By the way, I'm not Jewish. All right, my voice is only scratchy because I've just spent a lot of time talking this last week. That's all.
I don't know. The cat has a big nose.
That is a very, very beautiful looking half a cougar face. All right.
Everyone else has been accused of being Jewish, I think, except me, because I'm obviously not. So I just wanted to make sure.
It's like a form of hazing, right? You're a Jew. No, I'm not a Jew. You're a Jew. Oh, welcome to the club.
Oh, see, you gotta like, you use the Jew memes, the humor, to take the sting out of like the Holocaust. I think that's the tactic there.
Oh, absolutely.
But anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Also, classless. I don't. You're like libertarian Jew, but if you want to talk to me again, or something like that. If you're interested in alt-right opinions, you can just hit me up at Jolly Crocodile. I'll see you around.
It's a pleasure, man. Take her easy.
Have a good day, Jelly.
Yeah. Just kind of engaging with the chat. My real life work involves basically like 8 to 10 hours a day of interacting with people all over the world. So you kind of have to be a social creature to do that, to spend all that time on the phone and things like that. So,
hello, sir or madam. Are you interested in changing your internet service provider?
It's more like taking calls and helping people with their shit,
there you
like
go.
doing stuff, because the corporate office is in Europe, so it's like gotta engage with all these Germans. Anyway,
better than having to always engage with like Indians. Just saying.
It's very true. Very few Indians. No, I don't work at a call center.
See, you guys spread the fact that I may be Jewish. I'm going to spread the fact that you're trying to get people to change their internet service provider. Now we're friends.
So, classes, have you seen Falling Down, the movie?
No, sorry, I was muted there. No, you brought it up, and I actually Googled it real quick because no, never even heard of it.
Okay, Kayla, have you seen Falling Down?
No, I was actually Googling it as well.
God damn it.
Michael Douglas, 1993.
Yep. Oh man, Michael Douglas. Okay, so
millennial
for anyone whoever hasn't seen Falling Down, it was a movie that was produced in 92, released in February of 93. Yes, I was only a few months old at the time, but this movie is a modern parallel to what we're seeing today. It's 25 years old, or about 24, 25 years old, and it's amazing. The same things that he goes through are the same things that we're dealing with today. So it starts off, and you have this guy named William Foster. He's your average sort of corporate working man. He's got an ex-wife and a child. And it starts off, it's the opening scene is he's sitting in his car. He's stuck in summertime LA traffic with no AC on. He's surrounded by lots of undesirables, let's say. And he's getting annoyed, right? You're sitting there in stop and go traffic. You've got bugs flying around you. There's no AC on. It's hot. You've got all these loud people around you. It's a really interesting scene. But then he just kind of snaps, and he gets out of his car and he just walks away. And he says that he's just going home. So the whole movie is focused on him trying to get back to his ex-wife and his child. His ex-wife has a restraining order on him. And this whole movie is about one man's falling down into the extremes of things, because he ends up recognizing things that he might not have seen before, like the degenerate multiculturalism of LA. There's many scenes where he's like standing at a bus scene and he's looking around, and it pans to, some border jumping Mexicans selling oranges and a bunch of drunk homeless black guys, and he's engaging with all these degenerate minorities. The very second scene in the movie is him telling a Korean store clerk to learn English and fuck off, and then smashes up his store. So it's really funny.
Nice.
It's a great film. Let me read through the chat here.
Well, when I looked it up, right, I was like, oh, okay, that's, because, right, Gavin McInnes, that's where his whole outfit, his whole shtick regarding his costume came from, right? I'm looking at the short sleeve white shirt, the tie. I don't know if he has a pocket protector or not, but
yeah, that was his corporate attire. So he used to work in the movie. He used to work for a defense contractor, and he lost his job because, as he says, he's overeducated and underskilled, or the other way around. He's kind of confused at that point. There's a whole bunch of fantastic scenes, like the one on the golf course, the one in the fast food place, which is where most people have seen this from, where he's in the hood and he's walking around and he gets into a fight with these Mexican gangsters, and he ends up beating them with a baseball bat, right? And tells them to get the fuck out of his country, essentially. And then they try to do a drive-by on him. They miss completely. They crash the car, and he goes over and he picks up a bag of their guns and goes around town just trying to get home. But in the act of trying to get home, he fucks up a lot and does some pretty extreme things.
I'm actually going to watch this movie tonight.
is really, really good. And so one of the most interesting scenes is the one where he meets up with this character called Nick. And Nick is the owner of a military surplus store. And it come to find out that Nick is basically what the media would call a white supremacist, basically. And so in the back of his store, he's got a whole bunch of Nazi memorabilia. The scene starts off with him talking about faggots and stomping queers, and then he goes back and he thinks that William Foster, Michael Douglas, is also a neo-Nazi, and he brings them back to the back of his shop to show him all of his collection of neo-Nazi things. He hands him a can of Zyklon B and asks him, I wonder how many kikes this little can took out. It's a really funny scene. And I think something you could interpret from that is the media smear of people like William, who see problems with society, not agreeing with the media's smearing of people who like neo-Nazis. So when they call everybody Nazis, it's just a smear. It's not a reality. So go and watch that scene with between Nick and William and Falling Down. It's really interesting what happens. It is a classic movie.
I do think we are, in a way, reaching a point like that, right? Where we will start seeing this more often, especially of very disgruntled, very resentful young white men. And I hope we don't, right? Because it will only be used against us. And it won't be, it won't be useful, right? It's not anything where I'd say, oh, well, at least it's means to an end. It has nothing to do with that. It's just simply not the case. But
yeah, the media is really not helping you guys there at all.
No.
But there's one line in the movie that I think really speaks to the entire theme of the movie, is when he's facing off with Martin Pendergast, the cop, who's also another great redemption character, but I'll talk about him in a minute. He's the cop has a gun on him in the final scene, sort of, and he comes to realize, he asks the question, was I the bad guy the whole time? And obviously, if you're looking at it from an outside perspective, yes. But William didn't even know what he was doing was wrong. He was just trying to get home. And that's what the movie means, falling down. He kind of has a mental breakdown. And I think it's because of all of the evils that he's seen in society. And so the main message that I take away from this movie personally, and this is my own opinion, is that if you take things too far, if you take the red pill and you let it consume you, you're not going to do anything productive with it, and you will become the bad guy in this story in politics. You have to kind of rationalize the things that are going on. So when you take the red pill and you come to realize all of these things, these bad things, the decline of society and all of that, you can't let it consume you. You can't just become a siege pillar. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just go around and shoot your mailman and expect good things to happen. You're not going to get anywhere with that. So you need to be very careful when you allow your emotions to control you, because you will fall down a path that you don't want to go down. And that's the reason why I was going to talk about this at all.
I'm just glad that you pointed it out, to be honest. This makes Gavin McInnes a fuck ton funnier to me now. Because I've heard him say that before, where he's like, yeah, it's have you not seen Michael Douglas in Falling Down? And I never bothered to Google it. Now that I have this
it's all adding up now, isn't it?
Oh, it's hilarious.
Hold on, let's see.
Well, I think the red pill, it really does mess with people's minds, right? I mean, the scales have fallen from your eyes. You're finally seeing the truth that has been just, packaged and sold to you as this, all of these lies that have been sold to you as the truth, you now find out is just, it was bullshit. And right, that's obviously going to cause anger. And then on top of it, right, you're not able to change, unsee things, right? Once the scales fall from your eyes, everything you see, right, it starts to all kind of come back to this idea that you now hold, right? I mean, these truths that you now hold to be true, it starts to all connect, right? You start to see crime, and it's no longer just a crime. You're like, oh, it's another black on white crime, right? Yeah. It's another thing adding to the 13 to 55% statistic. Great. Or you see the strikes in Syria, and you don't just see them as Trump making a decision. You're thinking, oh, this greater Zionist plan, is now being enacted, and we're Israel's bitch.
If I could play this scene real quick through audio, hold on. Let me know if this guy's hurts your ears or anything.
Okay.
You know what was in this? Zyklon B. You remember what the Nazis had? Listen. Empty. This was used, man. This was actually used. Wonder how many kikes this little can took out.
That's fucking.
Yeah, that's the Nick character. He's great. Nick is fucking based.
Kind of sounds like Bruno, doesn't it?
Oh my god!
Am I the only one hearing that?
He looks like him too. He's bald, kind of Italian looking.
It might actually be him, you know, right? There's the real red pill. It was Bruno the whole time.
Where is that scene at? I know it's around here somewhere. Oh, I skipped past it. All right, come on. I got the movie pulled up on my second screen here. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's a good one.
Graffiti? No, man. That's not fucking graffiti. That's a sign.
You can't read it, man.
I'll read it for you. It says this is fucking private property. No fucking trespassing. This means fucking you.
Says all that.
Yeah.
Maybe wrote it in fucking English. I could fucking understand it.
Yeah, that's William. That's his character. He's fucking.
Where's the lie?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check this out. I've never heard of it before.
Yeah. Let's see. There is. Oh yeah. So.
Hey, you dumb bitch! You cut me off! What's the matter with you? Move up and move back! Get out of the way! What the hell are you, moron? Come on! I want to be in a parking lot and buy a ticket, you dumb goddamn bitch!
Yeah, so this guy's screaming at this lady in traffic, and he just comes up and fucking punches him right in the face as he's walking down the street. It's fantastic. So yeah, that's falling down. And the real message to take away from that is that you cannot let your emotions consume you when you go down this path of wokeness, as I would say. So if anyone hasn't seen the movie, go check it out. It's really good. Warner Brothers, please don't Jew me on this again. It was just some audio. Calm down.
This is just for commentary purposes.
Yeah.
And we've never had the discussion, I think, directly, Mimir, but we both have an agreement on stoicism in general, and it's applicable to more than just alt-right in general. Any ideology, you should have a level of ego in check when you're.
Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between having your ego in check and being a stoic. I think that some people take stoicism to mean no emotions ever, and if you show emotions, you're weak. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you let your emotions dominate you as a primary means of motivation, you're going to be consumed by it and you're going to end up going down the wrong path. Emotion is perfectly fine. There is a lot of emotion that can be used to influence people, and emotion is fairly important in some instances, but you can't let it consume you like some people. You know, they go on and on about, you know, race war now. It's like that's an emotive response, but if you really think about it, it's not a good thing. Just like when people say, oh, I want to nuke Israel off the face of the map. It's like, okay, I know you're emotional, but that's going to have consequences that you're not prepared for or haven't thought about. So you need to be careful with this.
Right. And I mean, I think a lot of people that, you know, whatever they feel about Nealon, right? Paul Nealon. You know, I mean, in regards to just Nealon as, you know, in the whole, right? I give him a little bit of leeway, right? Because how many people's red pilling process, especially when it happens so quickly and it's so intense, is just put out in the public for everyone to see, right? Like, of course you're going to come off crazy. I mean, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I don't think we should be airing certain things out there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, his quick descent into madness, I guess, you know, some people would say, it just, for me, I don't know, I see it and I just say, well, of course, right? Like, you know, and the longer that you live with these lies and so forth, and then your red pill happens, right? Well, that's just more time that you feel, you know, you've been wronged, right? It's just so much more stuff for you to catch up on to some extent. And as Enoch Powell said, right, those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad.
Yep. There's and of course I came into conflict with a bunch of accelerationists on this, but I don't really care. I think the objective truth is kind of on our side here. But let's take a listen to this as well.
Well,
what are we gonna do? I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh, guys like you always say you don't know what you're gonna do until you do it. I think you know exactly what you were gonna do. You were to kill your wife and child. Oh, yeah. Then you knew it would be too late to turn back. It would be real easy to turn the gun around on yourself. Now let's go meet some nice policemen. They're good guys. Come on, let's go.
I'm the bad guy?
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
So that's the scene where he's confronting the cop, and something on the Martin Prendergast character, the side story where they kind of meet up at the end. He is a escapist boomer who's being controlled by his ball-breaking wife, and throughout the movie, he slowly regains his manhood. So, Classless, you got to go.
Yeah, sorry, bud. I got to actually hit the road, but thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah, we'll see you later.
It was nice meeting you, Classless. I remember seeing you talking to Everin about transhumanism. So
cool. Yeah, that was that turned out to be a bullshit argument because she wasn't against transhumanism.
I'm against it, but I was just in the chat, just like let her do her thing. I mean, we'll talk another time. It was really nice meeting you, though.
All right, you take her easy, bud.
Yep. Steve Stevenson says, I read this as anti-white propaganda when I saw it. Yeah, that's probably what their intention was, but if you actually really analyze it, it comes off as the opposite. So, so the Martin Prendergast character, he's an escapist boomer who's retiring from his comfy desk job as a cop because his ball-breaking wife is afraid. She's also mentally unstable. But throughout the movie, he slowly regains his manliness as he goes to investigate William Foster. So it's very interesting. He's almost the redemption character in this story. Something to pay attention to if anyone's going to watch this later.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I don't know. I think it's something that, how would I say this? I think it's always interesting when you start to, initially you think that someone either has no reasons for doing something or they're just simply wrong in their reasons. And slowly over, and especially if your job is to be a detective or an investigator, right? Your job is to try to understand who you're investigating. And I think it's that's one of the reasons why I always did detective work or criminal profiling to some extent, is that you realize that rarely people are ever doing something for no reason, right? They're rarely snapping for no reason, even if the reason is just simply, mental instability or disorders.
Right. Well, the thing about this Martin character that he's actually, it's his last day of work as a cop. He only works like robberies. He's not actually a detective or anything. But he slowly starts to stand up for himself as the movie goes along. His wife is very controlling, constantly calling him at work, asking when he's going to come home, giving him a list of things to do. And by the end of the movie, the last phone call that they have, he tells her to just shut up and leave him alone. He's doing something important. There's this other cop that antagonizes him the whole time. And at the end of the movie, he actually just straight up punches the guy in the face before leaving for the final scene. So I see it as him kind of redeeming himself throughout this, but not the primary focus, just something interesting I found when I was watching the movie. So,
being able to reassert yourself, right? Reassert yourself as a man.
Yep. Phoenician, if you'd like to come on the stream, you're welcome to. I know you don't have a mic, so maybe sometime in the future, let me know. Maybe after the Warski debate, if you want to talk about it. But I think we're going to.
Phoenician doing a Warski debate?
No. That's just her field of specialty. This is Egyptology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, They Live is also another great movie, but that one's, everyone's analyzed that movie kind of already. But okay, so we've been on this for about 3 hours now, so I think we're going to close out the stream. If there's anything else you want to say, Kayla, before we sign off.
No, I'd like to say thank you very much, Mimir, for inviting me on.
Sure.
And I enjoyed talking with you very much.
Well, alrighty, we'll set something up when I'm not too busy at work, and we'll talk ethno-nationalism. I think that'd be a good conversation. I'm curious as to your position, so.
Absolutely.
All right,
Sounds
chat.
good. Your channel or mine, anywhere.
Yep. Chat, leave your final questions, and then we'll sign off.
How are you doing, chat? You having a good day? So Phoenician, wait, have you been on Warski or? Because
No.
I'm going to be okay. Because I'm going to be on Warski on the 26th of this month, and
okay.
anytime I can talk to someone, if they've already done it. But yes, I don't know if you know the I guess I could call him a man. I prefer not to, but the man Prince Hubris. Yeah, yeah, he seems to kind of be maybe MAGA. I don't know. Some guy that is he's kind of just a dick. It just seems like he's a dick towards women, and I guess he has a belief that women should not be on the internet. Now that's all I've been told, and I mean, does he? I don't know if he means that women should just simply not be sharing their ideas through streaming and so forth, or whether they just they should have all access.
Not control debate.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, right? First it was presented as a debate, and then it's kind of just been whittled down to, well, it's just going to be a fight. But I think I have an idea of what I'll be talking about, and I might call him a faggot in the meantime too. Just throw that in there.
But yeah, I was supposed to be on Warski last a week from today, actually, but this whole Baked Alaska drama popped up. So if you're curious about that, I talked about it at the beginning of the stream. But
no, I didn't hear it. What are you going to be talking about?
I was going to debate some Afrocentrists on the question of the origins of Egypt. So that's why I was talking to Phoenician. That's how I found out about her. It's because she's an Egyptologist, or at least is trained in it. So
nice. And you've been in contact with Queen of Bance?
No, actually, I talked to Andy directly, but he hasn't gotten back to me. I haven't heard from him for a week. So
well, I'll give you
Queen
of Bance Twitter, and yeah, she's good about getting in touch and setting things up and so forth.
Oh, sure. The other guys who were supposed to be debating me were in contact with Chris Worski the whole time, I think. So we'll get it sorted out. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
And I've tried contacting JF as well, but I haven't heard back from him. So, all right, with that, we're going to end the stream. Thanks everyone for coming out. We hit a record of, I think it was like 89 people, which is great. So
that is great.
Max Strong, last question. Max Strong asked, "What's my position on banks?" Fuck banks, and fuck the people who run them. That being said, we're gonna sign off now. So thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks, guys.